one since it could be a long one. I will call the council meeting to order on March 22nd at 7:30. First up is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call, please.
Alder Allen.
Present.
Alder Radafrada.
Here.
Thank you. Alder Gerhardt.
Here.
Alder Herbst.
Here.
Alder Maldonado.
Here.
Mayor Richardson.
Here.
Alder Strassman.
Here.
Alder Udell.
Here.
Alder Wheeler.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Excellent, thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to?
So
approve?
moved.
Moved by Jay. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Gabriella. Anything that someone would like to separate out and do separately? Randy?
Yes, I would like to separate out item 4, the resolution.
All right.
Second that motion.
Well, we don't need a second for that. Anything else that someone wants to separate out? Gabriella?
Number 9.
Number 9. All right. Anything else? Jay?
Just a question. Since number 4 is coming out, should the rezone number 5 also come out? And also number 6 is related to it, looks like.
I don't think so.
No? Okay, never mind.
No. All right. Anything else? Seeing nothing. All in favor of approving everything except for 4 and 9, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, those are approved. Now, Randy, number 4, would you want to change?
Yes, I would like to separate it out for the reasons that because of, due to the complexity of this resolution and the significant dollar increase, I would like to place it on the April Committee of the Whole for full discussion, and then place it up back on the council agenda for May 10th.
Okay, so changing when it comes back to the council for final vote to May 10th,
That's correct.
essentially. And then it sounds like you are going to add this to the Committee of the Whole as a discussion topic.
That is correct. And then at the same time, possibly the Parks Commission, well, Finance, of course, will fall in line, but the Park Commission maybe want to weigh in after that Committee of the Whole, so.
All right, so I hear a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Dave. And further discussion? Yeah.
I just wonder for Scott, like, is there, I don't actually have a problem pushing it back at all. I'm just curious, and I like the idea of having a discussion at COW, but for Scott, is there like a timeline that the reason it was referred out for April 12th?
There certainly would be a time, but it is a big project, so in the interest of making sure everybody's on board, I will tell you that it is going to be on the April Park Commission agenda, unless it's referred out further, but we were planning to take the different options to the Park Commission and get their recommendation for council's consideration in April.
Jim?
Yeah, Randy, what are the complications or?
Well, we gotta be careful about discussion, but I think that obviously it's a little more complex than what it originally was, and we gotta be careful about discussing it too much, but we heard a little bit about that earlier, so. All right, anything else? All right, all in favor of making those changes, number 4, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay?
Nay.
All right, the ayes have it. And number 9, Gabriella?
I'd like to refer this to TTC,
All right.
unless
and-
there was some reason it wasn't referred to TTC. I think we have a meeting in between now and then.
Yeah, I guess that'd be the only thing, is as long as you have a meeting.
I believe so.
Okay.
Is there a way to confirm that, Chad? I'm sorry.
And so would you like to make a motion to add TTC and approve it?
Yeah, I move to refer it to TTC.
Second.
Oh, and move it to refer it to everybody in addition to TCC.
To refer it, adding TTC. All right, seconded by Jay. Question by Randy?
Yes, isn't there a timeline here as far as meeting a due date for the salt? with the state of Wisconsin? When is
We're,
the,
we're checking the TTC meeting schedule right now.
Oh, no,
you
it's
are?
not, it's not
Okay.
the salt one. It's the bike share one.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is
I
number
jumped.
9.
Okay,
TTC will meet the second Thursday of the month. I got to look at the calendar here. April 14th.
April 14th, so I think that,
That would be 2 days after the April 12th council meeting.
so it does not meet in time.
Correct.
Okay. So, and I think that there's some application, is there some application deadlines, Chad? Or Bill, is Bill online? Doesn't look like it.
He is not. I don't know if we are on a time deadline on that. I'd have to check with staff.
Can I just refer it, and if it has to go on the agenda after it's voted on by council? I just still would like to be considered in TC, similar to how we do with RCC, where it's referred out even though it's gonna come back to council prior. Is there any reason we can't do that, or?
Yeah, so I guess the motion would be to refer to TTC, but not change the date it comes back to council.
Yes.
All right, all right. Are you okay with that, friendly, Jay?
Yeah,
right.
that's lovely.
All right. All in favor of adding TTC but not changing the referral date back to council, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay? All right, that is approved. We're going to go to new business quick first, and got a direct referral. Let's see, Dave, do you want to do this since it's Public Works?
So I move approval of resolution, R 5622, our next year's salt purchase.
Signed by Julia. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did Finance approve?
finance approved.
All right, and do you want to speak to this, Dave?
Yes, this is somewhat time sensitive. We purchased the salt through a state contract, and they asked us to make our allocation request by the 14th. We've been given a little grace period. This is somewhere in the neighborhood, 800 to 1,200 tons of salt is what will be purchased. We did reduce our amount some because we've used less in the last 2 years.
I know they moved the deadline up on us
Yeah.
without us knowing it until it was too late. We had to direct refer it to get it approved, but we save a lot of money by doing it now. Any, Julia?
Say that, oh. Sorry, Scott. So the packet said no later than 5 p.m. on Monday, March 14.
Yes, it sounds like we got like a week.
Oh, really?
Over a
Oh,
week.
okay, okay.
It gave us a
Grace period.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay? All right, that is approved. Let's see, Finance, do you want to do this one, Randy?
Well, all three of them, the next three are related, so if Misty could address them all at once.
Well, first we got to do a motion, though.
You want me to do the motion first?
Do a motion on the first one, she can, the discussion, that obviously will apply.
Motion to
all three.
approve Resolution R-62-22, approval for Police Department portable mobile radio upgrade.
Second.
Sent by Dave, and it sounds like Misty is going to speak to this.
Yeah, so you should speak to all three of them at the same time.
Perfect, yeah, speak to all three is great.
Correct.
So it's R6222 and 6822 that are related. So these are the police radios and the fire radios that you guys actually approved at the last meeting. Turns out though that you approved it to Baycom when the police radio needs to get paid to Motorola and the fire radios need to get split, a large portion paid to Motorola and then a smaller portion paid to Baycom. So because the resolution was very specific about who we are directed to pay, between legal and I, we talked about it and thought it'd be much better if we got your approval for this replacement purchase instead of just making the change unilaterally. So it's the exact same radios as you approved last time, exact same overall dollar amount. We're just changing who the check is made out to. And then there was an amendment on the Finance Committee floor that basically clarifies that this is a replacement and not a duplicate of what was approved last time.
Okay, so there's, sounds like there's a little bit of a error on the resolution, so it's proving the same thing we did last meeting, it's just fixing who it's going to. Okay, all right, any further questions? Yerba?
Just to clarify, and Randy, that was moved as amended by Finance, just to clarify?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, and what was the amendment that Finance did?
Basically, we're rescinding the original, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Gabriella?
Yeah, I have the language from Misty if that.
Yeah, the language is, she did send it out. It's here somewhere.
The added language was, be it further resolved by the Fitchburg Common Council that it rescinds the previous purchase authorized by R 2922.
Oh, I see. All right, seeing no further questions, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Next one, Rainey.
Yeah, let me jump back to. Resolution to approve, motion to approve, excuse me, Resolution R-63-22, purchase of police department vehicles.
Second.
Submitted by Jay. And did Finance approve this?
Finance approved.
Do you want to speak to this or let someone else?
Chief is here.
Yeah, is the chief here?
Chief is here.
Okay,
Chief,
Yes,
you want to
I
speak
am.
to this?
yeah.
Hello, everyone. The purchase of the vehicles, they were set to be purchased later on this year. Unfortunately, due to some of the supply and demand items that have occurred with COVID, the vehicles were contacted by Ford dealership. Ford contacted all law enforcement agencies and basically indicated if the vehicles are not ordered by the end of March, they will not be taking any more orders until 2023, which is why we are here today to discuss the purchasing of the 3 vehicles that were on the agenda to be purchased later on in the year. It's unfortunately, but the supply and demand is causing some of these items to be done in a rush fashion.
All right. Any questions at all from council or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Those are approved. Another one, Rainey.
Motion to approve Resolution R-68-22, approvals for fire department portable mobile radio upgrades.
Second.
Sent by Jade. Did Finance approve?
Finance approved,
Is this as amended as well?
as amended as well.
Okay, so same amendment.
Same amendment, correct, to rescind.
Right. And like Misty said, it's really just kind of approving the same thing we did last time, just fixing a couple of mistakes in the paperwork.
That's correct.
So, all right, any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That is approved. Administrator's report.
Good evening, everyone. I've got several items to go over. First, I'll start with some voting information. About 16,708 postcards were mailed to registered voters in the city on March 8th. Those postcards contained information regarding where to find polling locations and other links to voting information. The city also utilized its space in our full-page ad in the Fitchburg Star to also share information on how to locate polling locations as well, and that is sent out to about 15,000 addresses in the city. 1,927 absentee ballots have been mailed by the city clerk's office, and 204 of those have already been returned by voters so far. I do also want to remind folks, based on the legal decisions recently, that you may not return your absentee ballot via a drop box. You may, however, mail your ballot in, although I would recommend leaving adequate time for the Postal Service to get the ballot back to the city clerk in advance of the April 5th election. You may also hand deliver your absentee ballot to the clerk's office. And it's important to note, as you hand deliver it, you can only hand deliver your own specific ballot based on the court ruling. You cannot provide anyone else's ballot to the clerk's office. And then finally, you can vote in-person absentee through April 1st at City Hall, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Next item is ongoing recruitments. The city continues to recruit for a number of positions, and much like many others in the labor market, we're having some difficulties with some positions. One of those is the community center attendant position, and the inability to fill that position also does impact our ability to take future reservations for the facility. Other positions that I at least want to mention are an open parks and highway maintenance position, several positions in the engineering department, and then, of course, our summer positions for rec programs, public works, and those sorts of things, those LTE summer jobs. So if you have any teenagers or college kids that might be looking for a job, please send them our way. Well number 11, I informed the council a few weeks ago that that well was taken out of service and needs repairs, emergency repairs. We have identified what repairs need to be made, and those repairs will be taking place in the coming weeks, and we hope to get well 11 back online. And then the last item I have is with spring coming, the Story Walk has now been reinstalled down at McKee Farms Park by the library department. Any questions for me?
All right. Gabrielle.
Just one question about the postcards, and this might be an intentional choice, but my husband and I are both voters. We got 2 postcards to our address. Is that a typical, we just send it to every voter, even if there's multiple voters in a household?
Yes, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the clerk's office has a statutory obligation to maintain an accurate voter registration or voter list. And by sending the postcards to the registered voter, that gives us the best opportunity to keep an updated list. Mm-hmm. And then by having it addressed to a specific person, it will also be forwarded by the post office if the person has left a forwarding address, whereas a postcard addressed to a resident or simply resident would not be forwarded.
Great, makes perfect sense, thanks.
All right, anything else? Seeing nothing else, we'll keep moving to Planning Commission. Randy.
Motion to approve ordinance 2022-0-11. Amendment granting specific implementation plan zoning for rezone request by David Fahey, agent for Fahey Land LLC and Fahey 5370 LLC for a residential development of approximately 269 units on property located at south of Nobel Drive in Section 15.
Second.
Sent by Jay, and we've got a few people here to speak to the project. If you want to come up, and I know we've seen this before, but give us an update, that'd be great.
Good evening, Council. My name is Matt Brink. I'm the new Director of Land Development at Viridian. I just mainly wanted to take this time tonight to introduce myself. Chris is out this week, so I'm filling in for him. You'll be seeing me throughout the coming months and years of this development. Mainly, I just want to say thank you to staff for the relationship that we built to this point. Everything's gone as well as can be expected with the development of this size and magnitude. We're really looking forward to get this thing going. We have a couple more steps to complete with the DA, obviously tonight's step as well. But it's been a great process, and I look forward to working with you in the coming months and years. So that's all I have for now.
As Matt mentioned, of course, this is the last step for the zoning piece, but we do have a few more pieces that'll be in front of the board in the coming weeks. And so we're looking forward to getting moving on the project as soon as possible.
That's right.
If I remember right from Planning Commission, we've seen this before, and there's no changes from what we've seen previously.
That is correct, yes. This is built out of everything that's been previously approved, just the formal last step.
Great. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay? That is approved. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Randy.
Yeah, it's made bearings here. Motion to approve ordinance 2022-0-12. Amendment granting general implementation plan for rezone request. David Fahey, I am on the right, correct?
You are.
Yes. By David Fahey, agent for Fahey Land LLC and Fahey 5370 LLC to allow for a residential development of approximately 228 townhome and multi-units on property located on South Nobel Drive, Section 15.
Second.
Sent by Jay. The Planning Commission approve?
Planning Commission approved.
All right, and David.
Unless you want to talk. I guess this is the multifamily of the part that we just approved on the single family with Viridian. No changes. We're, I think, one step behind the single family on this, and it'll be a locally owned and locally managed project.
Great.
Any questions? I don't know.
Yeah. Dave.
David, approximately how many acres is this?
Including road or just not including the road?
You can include the road.
About 12. So it's a fairly green, open space.
Julia, do you have a question?
Yeah, so the multifamily are gonna be all rentals units?
Yes.
I know one of the unique things about this that I really liked was that there's a variety of building sizes on this, and it transitions from the stuff closest to the single family, which is smaller buildings, to the bigger, what you think of, a lot of people are building with 100 and, 100 unit type things. Might not
No, I
be
think
that big.
there's three or four that are, I'd say in the 42, 40, the four big ones I think are in the 40s.
Yeah, the four
between
story, 3 or 4
3 stories.
3 story, okay.
And then there's two stories that are, I'm going to get it wrong, I'll say 16 or 18. And then there's, I think, 6 4-unit buildings that'll be garage entrances, as you said, facing the single family.
Great.
Did I get to 228?
Any further questions at all? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more, Andy.
Motion to approve ordinance 2022-0-13, amendment granting specific implementation plan zoning for rezone request by Kirk Bydorski, agent for Fitchburg Commercial Properties, LLC, for property along Traceway Drive, Lot 1, CSM 15059.
Second that motion.
Sent by Dave. Did Planning Commission approve?
Yes.
Looks like we've got David and maybe someone else here. Go ahead, David.
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is David Gevers, Vice President of EJ Plesko and Associates. I also have Joseph Lee with JLA Architects here tonight. We're here presenting the SIP approval for our project, the new development. It's urban infill redevelopment located on Traceway Drive. It's essentially the same proposal that you saw in the GIP stage. It's just a little bit further developed, we're here to answer any questions that you guys may have. We think it's a great opportunity for this neighborhood to introduce a mix of incomes. It's a great investment opportunity for this community, and it's really just sort of the next step in the evolution of what's possible in this part of Fitchburg. Joe's here as well in case you guys have any questions specific to the design or the architecture, and we'll leave it at that.
I think the only change was there's 181 units instead of 180, but the building itself hasn't changed for footprint or anything like that, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That last unit came about because the geometry of the building lent itself to create sort of a unique additional unit there in a space that we hadn't anticipated having within the same footprint. So yes, that's correct.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none.
Roll call requested.
A roll call is requested. Tracy, put you on the spot real quick, if you could do a roll call.
Who's that? Alder Allen?
No.
Alder Radafrada?
Yes.
Alder Gerhart?
Yes.
Alder Herb?
Yes.
Alder Maldonado?
Aye.
Alder Strassman?
Yes.
Alder Udall?
Yes.
Alder Wheeler?
Yes.
7-1, motion carried.
All right, that passes. Thank you, David.
Yep, thank you very much.
All right, anything else, Randy, for Planning Commission?
No, nothing else.
All right, Public Works, Dave.
Move approval, Resolution R 1922, approving the purchase of 2 single-axle plow truck chassis.
Second.
Sent by Jade. The Public Works approve.
Public Works approved.
The Finance approve.
Finance approved.
All right, what's it about, Dave?
We, 2 trucks, one is needed for the town of Madison annexation and additional plowing in Terra Vista and other areas. So one is replacing a vehicle that is one of the trucks that's near the end of life that we're going to replace, and the other is for new additional, mileage that we have to plow. These are just the chassis. We will, you'll see future for the dump and the accessories on there. This is just for the cabin chassis.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That one's approved. Next.
Next, I'll move approval of Resolution R 3822, approving contract for tree clearing and grubbing associated with West Lacey Road reconstruction.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did TTC approve?
Yes.
Did Finance approve?
Yes.
All right, and what's this one, Dave?
You may recall this was previously bid and rejected due to ambiguity with the bids. We rebid it, provided a more specific specification or a cleaner specification, and we received new bids, and they ended up coming in below the engineer's estimate. There is tree grubbing or tree cutting, stump grubbing out and removal on both sides, both the north and south side of West Lacey Road.
All right, great, Brown.
Just added a couple things that Andrew shared in TTC. It was under the engineer's estimate, the final price that came in through, and then this particular vendor has not done tree clearing for us before, but they have worked with our Parks Department and has a good reputation in the city.
All right, anyone else? Seeing nothing else, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. That one's approved. Next.
Move approval of Resolution R 3922, approving the construction contract with Wisconsin DOT for County Highway MM and McCoy Road intersection improvements.
Second.
Sent by Gabrielle. I'll give it to that one. All right. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did TTC approve?
Yes.
Did Finance approve?
Finance approved.
And what's this one, Dave?
So as part of the reconstruction, safety, this is part of a safety improvement. DOT will be funding part of this intersection improvement. It is a cost sharing. They'll be paying approximately, I believe, 1.7 million. What we are approving, though, is there's approximately 500,000 that they are not paying for, and that is split between the city of Madison and the county. The county paying 2/3 and the city paying 1/3 of that 500,000. So that is the portion. That's what we are approving tonight. Of that 500,000, approximately 133,000 is the city's portion.
It's a good bang for our buck.
Yeah.
Any questions, Jay?
Do we have a design for this yet? A conceptual design for what's expected to be here?
I have not seen it, but there may be. Is Bill on? Is Bill on?
No, he's not. I know they had one and got some feedback, and I don't know if it's.
Are we looking at a roundabout, a signalized intersection?
Signalized intersection,
Signalized.
and they're going to change where the path crosses
Yeah.
MM as well, so it'll be at the intersection at the lights as well.
Jay, also, we asked, while this is going on, they will make there'll be a detour for the bicyclists so they can continue to go east to west through here.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. That's approved. Next one.
Move approval of Resolution R 4022, approving the relocation order and TPP related to reconstruction of the Lacey Road and Seminole Highway intersection.
Second.
Sent one by Jay. And did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did TTC approve?
Yes.
Did Planning Commission approve?
Yes.
All right. And what's this one?
As you may recall, as part of the West Lacey Road, and we want to improve this intersection. We held a number, at the urging of Alder Udell, held public hearing on this. There were a number of options, signalized intersection, roundabout, different things considered, and it's council's preference, most residents' preference to have a roundabout installed here. It will take some additional right-of-way to install this. The roundabout is approximately the same size as the one at Nesbitt and Fitchburg Road, approximately that same size. The timing of this, they want to get started soon as school is done in May and hopefully be completed before school starts this fall, because buses and transportation of children to the school, so.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That one's approved. Next one.
Move approval of Resolution R 4822, Agreement for Subdivision Improvements in the Ocella Certified Survey Map.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
And what's this one about?
This is along North Fish Hatchery, Index Road. There's a court coming off there now, and this resolution, the property, it's divided into outlots. One, a large one, will be for a multi-unit development. There's a middle section that will be expanded. It's a stormwater middle section that's expanded to accommodate the property stormwater and some from the city. And then where the court is, they are dedicating the land to connect that court, the street down to Index Drive. So it's, there's the property, there's a couple of outlots that get produced that they're hoping to sell to the adjacent property owners, but the main part of it is where the multi-unit development will occur.
And it's putting Ocala all the way through, which
Yeah, Ocala
hopefully-
goes all the way through down to Index, instead of being a court that dead ends. We've seen this before. They've talked about possibly some retail down here. They think it might be a good location, being off of Fish Hatchery, a little easier, not quite so hectic, but it was presented, and if you're interested, the map lays it out pretty clearly.
Any questions or comments, Jay?
What was the Public Works amendment?
Public Works Amendment, let me think here. my memory is not that good. Oh, yes. So there was a section in there. It was 501, paragraph 2. And it talked about with funding of the TID, and we duplicated that and moved it up to section 1.06C, I believe, was our amendment. So we duplicated that, and this was at the recommendation of city staff.
All right, anything else?
I would have to ask staff to explain, the need for it further, Jay. I don't know if
That's fine. I didn't see any
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed.
substantive change in there, so I was curious about what
So
that
putting
was.
some language in some places, so, all right.
Was there any discussion on this, since they're talking about retail further away from Fish Hatchery Road, about signage and what they might want to do on Fish Hatchery Road to attract people back there?
There was not, Jay. There was no discussion of that at this time, but certainly can be something we can bring up.
All right, anything else? Then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That is approved. And one more.
Next, I'll move approval of Resolution R 5022, adopting the 2021 NR 216 Permit Annual Report.
Second.
Sent by Gabriella. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did RCC approve?
We have not looked at it yet.
Okay.
We won't see it till May 30th, or March 30th.
All right, and you want to speak to this one, Dave?
Yes, so annually, we're required to have a permit, essentially allowing the city of Fitchburg to discharge our stormwater into waterways in the area. And it's, if you read through, it's a fairly lengthy report, a lot of redundancy, but it's a yearly, we have to have this yearly. There's a lot in there about public outreach. There is a decent amount about how we're operating our system. Like, for instance, we have some places on Lacey Road where we put in catch basins because we had no place for a stormwater detention basin and the report talks about having to, we have to maintain those, or yearly we pump them out and get the soil out of those. I would also point out, previously, we were thought to be or assumed to be out of compliance. With the growth of streets, we weren't able to meet the cycle for street sweeping. So now with the addition of the second street sweeper, we are no longer assumed to be out of compliance. And again, this is an annual, every year you will see this. You know, our stormwater utility was created in 2002, and I believe it's been an annual thing since then.
All right, I got Gabriella and then Julia. Go ahead, Gabriella.
Yeah, I just want to say, we haven't had a chance to review this in RCC yet, but we reviewed it last year multiple times. It's very similar in nature, and a lot of the public outreach specifically that RCC is typically in charge of, it's very similar year to year, so I don't expect this will be a problem in RCC.
Yeah, Julia.
I have a question regarding one of the questions, maybe Dave, you know about this. Is it how many illicit discharge complaints did the municipality receive? And there is one. Do you know why? Which one was?
Well, I read through it, Gabrielle. You know, we received a number of complaints. Most of them, I believe, were on developments.
Okay.
Construction
Okay.
projects, I believe, were the majority of those. And in, I think, almost all cases, city staff went out and resolved those, is what was indicated to me. I don't know if I don't know specifically, Julia, if some of these were from existing areas of the street where someone saw someone dumping motor oil down. I don't know that, but I can ask the question.
No, it's
for you.
fine. It's, you know.
Anything else?
I would just add one thing. It talks about, water quality improvement, or what. We're not able to gauge that. We have no, we have one monitoring station, and it's somewhat subjective. I sure hope as hell that we're cleaning the water. We're spending a lot of money on this, and empirical evidence would say our settling basins is doing a good job, but we don't have any really. This is what the water quality was, pre-development and post-development. So I think we're doing what we need to, but again, I don't have anything I can hang my hat on to say we're making the county or area water better.
All right. Seeing nothing else, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that one's approved. Thank you, Dave. Park Commission.
No report.
All right, Library Board.
No report.
Commission on Aging Well.
We met last week. We have our new caseworker has started. Happy to have her. The other existing caseworker, she's working part-time in the senior center and part-time in the police department. That's working out well. We have two new leaders of the caregivers support group. So we're very, very pleased, these two people stepping up. They've started a yoga for people with Parkinson's. So apparently, yoga, if you have Parkinson's, is a very effective therapy. And I'm sorry I didn't write down her name. We have a new leader of the women's group, and they're really excited. She has several new activities planned over the next few months. So, that's my report.
Thank you. RCC.
I will move approval of Resolution R 2022, authorizing the purchase of a 2022 street sweeper.
Second.
Submitted by, I'll give Julie that one. Did RCC approve?
We have not looked at it. We'll see it on March 30th.
All right, did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Finance approve.
Finance approved.
All right, and do you want to speak to this?
I was going to see if I could throw it to Dave since we have.
I'll speak to
thank
it.
you.
We're replacing a street sweeper we purchased in 2015. I was concerned. I thought, well, something we should buy. It's costing $200,000. I would hope it would last 10 years. But what was explained to me is that's kind of what they see with this type of equipment. It starts running into a lot of problems, and the resale value goes down quite a bit at about this 6-7 year time frame. So that is why they are proposing that we get the new one right now. The existing sweeper will go out for auction with a minimum bid of $45,000. So this unit will cost $200,000. roughly 200,000. We're pretty sure we'll get at least 45,000, but they think given the shortage of equipment and things, we may get more than that. So total setback to the city should be somewhere, 160,000 or less for this purchase.
Great. Jay?
Who buys used street sweepers?
Smaller cities that don't, they don't have the mileage that we do. They may have 5 miles that they have to do. And so, there's not as much wear and tear on it, and they can probably make it last quite a few more years than us. That's my understanding, Jay. Yeah. Or maybe there sometimes also construction companies that are putting in roads and subdivisions. They need to keep those clean during construction, so they may purchase it just for, they're required to do that as part of their construction permit and stormwater, things. So that's another source of someone that would buy it.
All right. Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. That's approved. Anything else, Gabriella?
No.
All right. How about TTC?
Yes, we met on March 10th, and we reviewed a draft of an update of the transit plan, which has not been done since 2010. Andrew McFadden put together a great draft, and we're working on that. It will come to council in the near future. And then we looked at those reports that the resolutions that we just voted on. The 2022 chip and seal map is available now for people that are interested to see what streets are getting done this year. The West Lacey Road, the construction is set to begin late May, early June. And the Cyene Road, as you know, is under design, and the construction for that first section is going to start in September, and that's all still on schedule. And then the bulk of the meeting, or a good part of the meeting, we also reviewed the Metro Transit Network redesign, and I did want to share some of the maps just so that you all, as council members, have a chance to see it. So take us just a second while I... Okay, so this is the draft transit network. It's a PDF that's available on the Metro website. It's the entire network as a whole. There is also a PDF of just the Fitchburg boundaries. I actually have a physical copy over there, so if any of the council members want me to walk you through it after the meeting, I'm happy to do that. And that's so that obviously gives you a more zoomed in version on the different specific streets in Fitchburg. There's also an interactive map that's available online. It is on GIS. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can manipulate old routes versus new routes. You can find out more information about the routes. That's a great thing for people that are looking exactly how this affects them and maybe how it affects routes outside of the city of Fitchburg that they want to see. That is also available on the Metro website. And then there is this great Metric Rita draft plan report that kind of goes into a lot of details. I know there were some questions that came up about, equity analysis and how this decision came to be. This report is where you can get all those answers. And it's pretty scannable, I would say. So if you have specific questions that you're looking for, I think you'll be able to find them by looking through here. And then an important note for people that are affected by this draft map, we are having a public hearing, a community hearing next Monday, or I guess this coming Monday, March 28th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. And then it's going to be online, and it's also going to be in 4 different locations. So it's at City Hall, but obviously people that ride the bus primarily cannot get to City Hall. So Alder Maldonado and I worked on getting it in 3 additional locations simultaneously. Those other locations are the Boys and Girls Club, Doxa Church, and the community room at the Fairways, which is on Traceway Drive. The goal is to have kind of a broadcast of the Metro presentation, and then also the people that are physically in the room will be able to interact with Metro for questions. This is the best way this is one of the key ways to give feedback if people are having issues, if the system is not working for them, if they want to see changes. This is the meeting that I recommend you go to. There are other meetings that are happening all over the city, and you certainly could go to a different one and give feedback at that one. So don't think that you can't do that if that's a better option for you, or feel free to send feedback to the council members or to myself. there's ways to get feedback and have your say on this draft map. I'll also say that there is a survey online. And I highly, highly recommend that people that are affected by the draft map complete the survey, because that's going to be the full way that Metro is going to use to make small changes to the system. But I think we should be clear that this draft map, while it is a draft, it is closer to complete than maybe some people think. You know, changes can be made, but these buses run on hour, half-hour loops. So changes in one area affect every area. So when you're talking about changes, they might jog more into a down a little bit more. They might move slightly street over, but you're not going to be talking about wild shifts in routes. You're not going to be talking about adding back transfer points. So you're talking about more about micro changes in a neighborhood. That being said, that can make a huge difference. And I think we should all keep in mind that paratransit service is a specific, I think it's 3/4 of a mile outside of the fixed route. So a change in the route could actually affect where paratransit service is available in the city. So that's something to keep in mind too with these changes. And I know we've already heard from some Fitchburg residents, but I highly encourage the council to send it to your residents that might be affected by this or are interested to know. I just think the more feedback that we can get, the better. And if they can't come to the meeting, the survey is a great option. Anyone that doesn't have access to the internet, there are paper surveys. And I'd be more than happy to drive it and drop it off at anyone's house and pick it up and send it back on their behalf. And there also should be available on buses as well. So I hope that there's a lot of ways for people to give feedback, but that March 28th meeting, since it's focused on Fitchburg residents and Fitchburg routes, that's a great way to get the right information. And that will be recorded as well and available after the fact. Are there any questions?
Sounds like, Julia, you got a question?
Yeah, so my question is,
Microphone?
Oh.
You got it for you.
so the survey is in Spanish too?
Yes, and
Okay.
I believe there's actually a Hmong version as well.
And who put it together, Madison?
It's a Madison Metro.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how we can do to send this survey to more of our residents? What are the outreach that we are doing? And when is the deadline?
You know what? It's interesting. I think I don't think they have a strong deadline right now. I think they're kind of taking it on a rolling basis, but I assume there is a point at which changes can no longer be made. I can double check on that. As for the city's response in terms of getting it out, the meeting is obviously one way, but the problem is that one of the main issues too is that the Fitchburg Star does not go to a lot of the areas that are highly affected by this route change, which is a really important way for people that don't have internet access to know about this. So I am deeply concerned about getting the information out, which is why we try to have meetings in the regions. But honestly, like once these changes are going into effect, we're gonna really need to make sure that people know that this is coming before it goes into effect, which will happen sometime in summer 2023. Because I don't want this to be a surprise, and I think that the city has some onus to act and not just because Madison Metro definitely does outreach on the buses, but I think the city has a responsibility to do some outreach as well. So it's a great question, but yeah.
Julia, another question?
So where people can get the paper copy for the survey? Do we have copy here at City Hall, in the library, in the senior center, in?
The library gets one I think people can read there. I don't think we get them here at City Hall anymore like we used to.
So, I mean, this is just a specific survey for the draft map, so I assume that we could print copies. Chad, is that something we could do? We could print copies of the survey and have them available in city buildings?
During COVID, we had held off on having a lot of documents available. I would still be a bit concerned about leaving a bunch of documents out and somebody needing to maintain them. You know, I haven't seen where they're available on the buses, but I assume that folks that are riding Metro have access to grab those surveys on the bus. And obviously with some access issues with transit to City Hall, I'm not sure there would be a significant demand for paper copies here at the city.
Yeah, it's
Possibly by request if someone's going to stop by, but.
Yeah, I mean, if someone contacts the city, if that's an issue for them, I will personally drive to their house and I will wait for them to fill out the survey and I will take it back. I think it's way, way, way too important to not do this. So, but yeah, I think it being in the library and the City Hall is not actually a great place for it, so.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, Jay.
So if you were a resident and you were going to the city's website and you wanted to find this information, how would you go about finding it?
That's a great question. I actually think the best way to find things on the city website is to Google Fitchburg, Wisconsin public transportation, and I think that'll pop up the website pretty well.
Well, I mean, I'm on the website now, just trying to find that page that you had up there.
I can send you a link with all of these links, but
I don't.
I 100% agree.
I don't need it, but we have a lot of residents that might. So the city has had different email lists. I get the one for the police department, which I've been on for a long time, and there's general news. I haven't seen anything in any of the email lists that I have from the city about transit updates. Nothing. And it's, you know, as you're aware, this is a gripe of mine that the city doesn't communicate very well with its residents. If I were a resident and I wanted to know about changes to Metro, I mean, I'm on the homepage right now, and there is nothing that would intuitively tell somebody this is where you find out about Fitchburg's transit service on the homepage at all. There are 4 drop-down menus, and it's not here anywhere.
Chad, would you like to?
Sure. Alder Allen, if you go to the Public Meetings tab on the homepage, you'll see it currently listed under Monday, March 28th, Transit Network Redesign Public Meeting.
Well, like I said, there's nothing intuitive here. If you are a resident, you're not going to think to look at public meetings if you want to find out about the city's transit options. You know, you might want to find it under services. We have a services drop-down menu that lists, I don't know, there's probably 40 things on here, but there's nothing, I guess.
Wait, I thought your question was how to find the meeting.
No, my question was how
so
do
if I missed
find
that,
that
I'm sorry.
picture that we just had up on the screen?
More for residents, you know, if they're not super familiar, making it easier for them to find it. So I think there might be some opportunities. I think some of the pages have either things on the left, or that's not the issue. The issue is for a resident themselves, not to have someone hold their hand through it to tell them if they want to just go it on their own. But I think that's one of the things we're looking at in redesign, is making stuff easier to find as well.
Chad, can we do
Chad, do you want to speak to the redesign at all?
Nope.
Before? Okay, all right.
Nope,
All right. All right, Joe, I got you. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. So, I mean, is it possible as like at least a short-term solution to be able to have it, you know, in one of these flashing screens that you got when you go to the website if there's like an urgent issue? I mean, I would classify that as an urgent issue.
Yeah, I feel like the redistricting info kind of graphic could probably be changed out now. The information is still available, but I don't think it's a hot topic anymore. So.
The other thing I was going to mention is and I didn't mention that when we talked to Andrew McFadden, but Lunas could also be a site for having surveys available, at least a QR code, if nothing less, particularly for Spanish-speaking customers that come in.
Okay. Julia, a question?
Another option, we can, we can talk to Leopold School, and we can put a paper copy in each, they usually allow you to put like so the kid can take home, some information. That one could be another option.
Yeah, if we get Madison Metro connected with them, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't know if Gabriella, you can help with the right person there maybe, but that'd be great.
With Leopold School and maybe one of the Verona School.
I will. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Chad, if we could do a news flash this week about this, that would be really helpful. If you could put that on the agenda, and then, but I think we do need to have a really broad conversation about how we communicate better with our residents. I know I harp on this a lot, but this meeting in particular highlighted a huge issue where we automatically defaulted to City Hall and online, and nobody that only uses public transportation can physically get to the city on a bus. You cannot get to the city on a bus. And the fact that we don't have backup locations already ready to go, rooms, we know how to do the AV, we know where the contact is. The fact that we don't have that is like a huge issue. Alder Maldonado and I shouldn't be the ones that are like reaching out and figuring out which locations we could be. We should, as a city, should have other places aside from City Hall for people to meet and for us to bring meetings regularly. And so I'm gonna start harping on this more, but I think this is a huge issue that we need to start talking about, because And because this is the example of how it really can negatively affect someone's life to not get this information in a timely fashion in a way that they can access. This is just the perfect example of that, but there's a lot of examples for the city, and we really, really need to do better at this because it's a huge issue in terms of people being able to use the services that they pay for. And anyway, that's that. That's all for TTC.
Oh, Jeremy Crosby. Hey, Jeremy. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, if I may.
Are you talking about, we got to be a little careful that we don't veer off into other subjects, but yeah, go ahead.
Understood. Nope, I just jumped on to check in with the ARPA stuff and just came across this. I want you guys to be aware, council and everybody, that we've been talking about this. It's been on the homepage of the website. It's been on Talking Fitchburg. It's on social media. It's been out there for plenty of time, and we've continued to talk about it, repeatedly. So the claims that it has this specific story hasn't been out there or hasn't been put out there is false. It's definitely been out there. While it's not on the homepage of the website, I can't defend that, one way or the other. But as far as getting the information out there, we have it everywhere it can possibly be. And there are frustrating things about the website, but communication wise, it's definitely been out there and made available. We can always do better. I think that's a clear thing, and I'm open for suggestions. We heard some great stuff last week from Megan Rule, that listening session, but this specifically definitely has been out there for everybody to catch up on. And I would love to have more input if we can do better. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you. All right, moving along to CETA. I'm not sure who's going to do the resolution. Julia? All right.
Yeah. So I move approval of resolution R-27-22, approving the addendum number 2 and addendum number 3 to the master agreement to provide consulting services between the City of Fitchburg and H&A Advisors LLC for the Workforce Housing Endowment Program for a Fitchburg rent-to-own townhome project.
Second.
Seconded by Jade. Did CETA approve?
We approved, but then the Housing Advisory Committee amended, so I don't know.
Okay, well, did Housing Advisory approve? Sounds like as amended, possibly. Is that Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did the Finance approve?
Yes.
And amended?
As
or
amended.
As
No,
amended?
wait.
Okay.
No, we did not. We did not. Correction.
You did not amend it? Okay.
We did not amend.
Okay. And I know we've got Michael here.
Michael, yes.
And also Mike Zimmerman. I don't know if Mike Zimmerman, you want to introduce it, or you want to just have Mike Harrigan go right ahead?
I'll just introduce it real quick. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, Council, you approved the Rent to Workforce Townhome program late last year, and now the second addendum and third addendum here would continue that work towards implementation of that program, focusing on specific sites and possibly looking at a land trust model in addendum number 3. So I will turn it over to Mike Harrigan from H&A Advisors to kind of take us through just the scope of work there and answer any questions for your consideration.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Mayor. Good to be with everyone this evening. This is really a follow-up to the presentation of the feasibility report that we delivered to the council last October, which you acted on. And now we've been asked to submit our proposal for services related to the implementation of that plan. In order to walk you through that, I prepared a couple of slides that might help us just understand what's included in the proposal. So in your packet, you have a detailed description of each of these work elements. But I wanted to just kind of walk through it and give you an idea of what's entailed here. We've broken this down into segments so that as we move through this, we know that there are a multitude of variables that can come up that can impact the feasibility of the project. We anticipate doing ongoing model testing, financial model testing, which is included, and I'll get to that in just a second. But the first step that I think is really critical is reviewing sites and selecting a site that would make sense for the city for this particular initial project. Because the site specific is going to help clarify what some of the costs are associated with the project. So our proposal includes assisting the city with the evaluation of up to 4 different sites from a financial perspective in order to arrive at one that you ultimately choose that would make the most sense for a project. We also, within the project, there had been a total of about 17 different public and private potential partners that might have an interest in partnering with the city financially on the project. Our scope includes the further discussions with up to 10 of those entities to determine whether or not financial participation would be possible in the upfront financing of this undertaking. The next step is the development financing for the initial construction of the project. And that's going to occur through a combination of tax increment financing resources, as well as potential debt financing and partner participation. The exact combination of that would be a determination that the city would make. We would be working with the finance director as well as the staff to bring you a final proposal on that. But in addition, we think the local banks are going to play a real key role here, potentially both in the upfront financing, but also certainly in the takeout, a long-term financing for the residents. As you know from the initial report, we had discussions with Oak Bank, Park Bank, and the bank across Plains, all 3 of whom had expressed interest. I'm sure there would be others that would as well. Another step is the selection through an RFP process of a specific builder and a specific management company that the city would partner with in the construction of the project on behalf of the Community and Economic Development Authority. Proposal includes the RFP process and that selection. As I mentioned, it's going to be very important to continually monitor where we are with regard to costs, both in so far as the cost of money, interest rates, and in the cost of construction material. So we expect to update our model. Our scope includes 5 updates to the model as we move through it. Finally, we will prepare a final recommendation and report, and we will also be including assistance on the legal documentation with the city attorney and any other additional legal staff, all of the cost of which has been included in the model for the overall cost of the project. So I know that's a quick summary of what it is. You can see the detailed cost of each element, total cost of our services with all those included would be $35,000. I'd be happy to answer questions, Mayor.
Questions, comments, Jay?
Mike, do you have any idea how many units we would potentially be talking about?
Well, initially, the report envisioned a 10-unit project. This is a model project. The key thing here is having success with an initial undertaking, which could certainly be expanded upon. But we see these being done in 10-unit increments.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, then, Julia. Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
Well, because the Housing Advisory Committee amended.
Okay.
So
And what
I
was
don't
the
know.
amendment?
So they want to remove the addendum number 3 for now.
And that is which part?
is part of the, here is approving addendum number 2 and addendum number 3. So CEDA approved the original resolution. The Housing Advisory Committee removed the addendum number 3. So I don't know, Finance, you
Discuss it.
approve the original. Okay.
We discussed, but we did not approve the amendment.
Okay, so
Okay.
housing took out the land trust option.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay. And what was your motion? Was it as amended or
No,
not?
the original.
It was the original, okay. So would you like to make an amendment?
Yeah, I would like to make an amendment and to add the language that is in the referral sheet and that the Housing Advisory Committee amended. So it said, be it further resolved by the City of Fitchburg Common Council that upon completion of the Addendum 2, demonstrating that there are viable business and financial models, future recommendation will be given by the Community and Economic Development Authority and Housing Advisory Committee by resolution whether or not to move forward with Addendum 3 and the last strand, model scope of work.
All right, is there a second to that amendment? Seeing no second to that amendment, I guess it does not go forward.
Fine, fine with me.
All right. Just representing your committee. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, so that does not go through then. So we still have the original resolution unamended. Any further?
Nope.
Doesn't look like anything else. So
It's fine.
all right, all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Anything else for CETA?
No, that's it.
All right.
We are meeting this coming Thursday.
Okay. Ag and Rural Affairs.
Ag and Rural Affairs. We met last Tuesday, the 15th, out at Four Winds for our annual listening session. And it had been several years because of COVID. We had a nice turnout of rural landowners, and of course it was open to the public, to all of Fitchburg. But it was a nice venue. If you haven't been to Four Winds, do take a drive out. They will welcome you, and they'll give you a tour. But the listening session itself, Mayor and Administrator Chad Brecklin gave a nice overview of the state of Fitchburg, and that's what the committee was asking for. And then there were a number of follow-up questions. Of course, the issue of assessments was a hot topic. Broadband was discussed. What else? You remember off the top of your head? Maybe, would you like to chime in a little bit, Chad?
Yeah, certainly. And on the topic of assessments, the city assessor was also there and answered questions.
Chief Morales.
And Chief Morales from the police department was also there at request of the committee and also answered some questions related to policing in the rural portion of our community.
Yeah. So overall, I think it was a great listening session. So, yeah. Mayor, anything you'd like to comment since you were there?
I know we also just talked about the ARPA amendments and some of those projects.
Right. Everything that we're well aware of here and to closure. So.
Yep. Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. EMS.
We did not meet this month.
Okay. How about Bicycle Committee?
No updates on Bicycle Committee. Just a reiteration, there are a series of events that are going to be planned within the month of April, towards the end of April and through the month of May. Still finalizing details, but it's going to be the second or the last Tuesday of April and every Tuesday in May from 4:30 to 6:30. It'll be bike repair workshops as well as bike stand, bike rodeos. So I will communicate that once they are finalized, but we're still working on locations.
All right. Thank you. Tree Advisory.
We continued our discussion of the tree protection ordinance, and then we also talked a little bit about municipal tree nurseries and potential community gravel beds, which I sent the council an email about, and I will talk when we get to that amendment later, so I won't go into the detail now, but that's all for tree advisory.
All right. Landmarks preservation, have you met? Shannon?
No.
No report? All right. Housing advisory.
Yeah, we met on March 14th. The agenda items were the resolution that we had just discussed within CETA. We also had a discussion about the affordable housing program, and different members of the committees gave sort of their recommendations for how to use that fund, and there were some really good ideas and suggestions, so I would just encourage anybody to watch the meeting on Fact TV if they want more details.
All right, thank you. Healthy neighborhoods.
We are meeting on the 5th of April.
All right, and Finance Committee.
Finance, approval of bills, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 123230 through 123262 for the period of March 1st to the 15th, 2022, totaling $202,769.09. Next item, review of P-card transactions for the cycle ending February 7th, 2022, total $246,846.73. Then on to the ordinances. Move to approve Ordinance 2022-0-09, updating Fitchburg ordinances to allow use of insurance in lieu of bonds for city officers by amending sections 8 through 7, 8 through 105F, and then 8 through 106A, and 8 through 113C, and 18 through 3, and 18 through 8.
Second.
Signed by Jay. And what's this about?
Let's see, little back history. Back in 2017, Act 51 allowed municipalities the flexibility of avoiding buying separate bonds for public officials and city officials, and instead securing insurance coverage for the officers through city insurance. Since that time, the city has obtained appropriate insurance coverage for all relevant city officials, and really this ordinance is just a housekeeping measure. This ordinance will formally authorize the use of insurance policies rather than bonds.
So we've been doing insurance for a long time, so we want to make sure our ordinances reflect what we actually do.
That's correct, yes, yeah. Just cleaning it up.
Yeah. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that passes. Next one.
All right. Motion to approve Ordinance 2022-0-10, amending sections 4 through 1273, Finance Committee functions, and sections 8 through 113B4, treasurer duties.
Second.
Signed by Jay, and what's this one?
Another housekeeping measure here to clean up our ordinances, but the Finance Committee itself functions to review bills after payment instead of before the payment. And so the staff is recommending a change in the Finance Committee ordinance 4-127 to reflect that current process, reviewing bills after they are paid. We haven't been doing anything incorrectly. We just want to reflect the ordinances as we are following the process that we've put in place.
Did Finance approve?
Finance approved.
Okay. Questions on this one? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Thank you. And Personnel Committee.
Okay, one second. So I move approval of Resolution R-41-22 as amended in Personnel Committee, amending the 2022 General Fund and Water Utility Fund budget.
Second.
Signed by Jay, and you said personnel approved as amended, which is what you did the motion for. And,
Yeah.
and then did Finance, what did they do?
We approved as well. Based on the amendment,
Yeah.
with the amendment.
the amendment.
All right, and you want to speak to this, Julia?
Yes, personnel did not wish to see any increase on program fees in order to find the sign-on bonuses that we are planning to implement during the summertime for the LTE position for recreation. And we ask the city to look for other ways to fund this. So you will see that Sarah sent in the afternoon the revised resolution with the amendment, and it make a change in the fourth clause in the resolution to add, or money is found elsewhere in the park and public works budgets as determined by city staff.
All right, so if I'm understanding it, the Personnel Committee was in favor of the sign-on bonuses, however, not funding those by increasing fees for the programs. Okay. All right, Gabrielle?
And our understanding from Misty too, that the language that, as we amended it, it just gives staff the flexibility to find money elsewhere. They still could raise the recreation fees, and because it's just the flexibility, the budget amendment is not to be updated as a result, so.
All right. Other, Dave?
So just so I'm clear, the people's water rates will go up so that we can keep the rec fees level?
No.
No?
No.
Where's this money? It's,
Well, it's. it
Rob,
could
either to pay
be-
Paul, you can't,
Well, it'd be maybe savings in something that didn't cost as much as we expected.
Okay, all right.
And utility is completely different. I mean, that'd be
all
something
right,
different.
I'll
This
buy
would be-
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Julie, you have a question or comment?
No, I want to follow up with Dave. That we don't want to use utility fee to cover the bonuses. So this is why we need to look in the parks,
Can't.
Understood.
department
Okay,
budget to find other places.
I understand. Thank you.
Gabrielle, did you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, part of the source of money too is disability insurance premiums, which were waived, I believe, because of COVID. So there was a lot of savings in that money. So some of the bonuses, especially for the public works staff, is going to be paid through that savings. It's just we can't pay for the recreation staff in addition to that. So yeah, part of it's covered already by what we already have in the budget.
All right. Anything else? Then seeing nothing else, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That passes. Anything else in personnel? No, that's it. All right, public safety.
I would move denial or rejection of operator license for Corey Floyd.
Second?
Seconded by Jay, and would you like to speak to that?
Yes, the police went through the application and rejected his application. We gave Mr. Floyd an opportunity to come before the public safety and make his case, and he has chosen not to. We've not received any correspondence, so we're recommending denial of license. He can reapply again in 6 months.
Okay. Questions at all? Seeing none, all in favor of denying, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is, well, the motion is passed. All right, then we can go to the mayor's report. Just two quick things. One is in our next meeting, we will have the contract with our fire department on there. That will be, we have a tentative agreement anyway with them, and so that'll be coming forward to us, so look forward to that. And then I also wanted to thank Senator Baldwin. She had asked for us to submit requests for various projects, and we submitted 5 different projects, and total, it's a lot of the projects you know. They're all projects you know, and it's kind of next steps on some of those projects. They're really all along like stormwater type projects. And like Barney, Fitzroy Road, Curry Court, Schumann Drive, Lacey Seminole. It was about $1 million, and we actually were approved for that. We get 80% of that through this grant, but we got about $800,000 from that. So I just want to thank Senator Baldwin for that. And it's 5 very important projects here in the city that will continue moving forward. It's not all the money we need for some of these things, especially things like Lake Barney, but it helps us get further and closer to finding out what the solutions are. So thank you, Senator Baldwin, for that. That's what I have for now, and so I can go to all the reports, and we would start with District 2, actually. Julia.
I don't have anything to report right now.
All right, Gabriella?
Yeah, I just wanted to focus on the Fitchburg Star, people not getting the Fitchburg Star. I've become a little bit more concerned about this after learning more about the network redesign, having people realize the changes coming, being kind of surprised by it, and then they say, I don't have internet access, I don't get text messages because I only have a home phone, and I no longer get the Fitchburg Star. So they literally have no good method to get city communications. And this is a good example of why that's such a serious concern. And the fact that we don't know exactly where these addresses is also a concern. But so I've started collecting information. I have a form on my website just trying to find out who doesn't get the Fitchburg Star. So if any of the alders have heard of somebody that's like, oh, I don't get it anymore, I wonder why, I would love to know where they live, because I want to try to kind of put a map together what this looks like. I remember there was some talk about it being certain zip codes, but all the people I've heard from thus far, which is about 10, 53711 was their zip code. So then that's the bulk of Fitchburg. So obviously it's not just by zip code, there's something else going on. It looks like the bulk of District 1 might have stopped receiving the Fitchburg Star. And honestly, like it's looking like it's the northern margin of the city, which means that it concentrates on the lower income residents who are less likely to have internet access. So I am very concerned about this, and I want to start talking about solutions. I'm going to set up a meeting with Chad, the administrator, to see about how we could go about. But right now, I want to collect more information. So if you know people that aren't getting it, if you've heard about it, I would love to either send them me an email, or they can fill out the form on my website, just so I can figure out information gathering period. But I'm very concerned about this, and it's become something that I was concerned about to something I feel quite alarmed about, and I think we need to find a solution in the near future, and I'm going to be working on that. Thanks.
All right, Jay?
Other than the fact that it just keeps raining, I have nothing to report.
All right, Shannon?
Just telling people to lock their car doors, please.
Lock car doors,
Yep.
absolutely. Yep.
Because I've seen it's been brought up a couple more times on Nextdoor. So, but that's it.
Thank you. Jim?
Nothing to report.
Randy?
No, nothing to report.
All right. Dave?
I have a group, or a leader, he's volunteered in our Jamestown Park to lead a group of recruit people to, we have a prairie area there that gets mowed every year, and he has offered that he would get a group of people that would trim the woody vines and the invasives and take care of that, so that it would not have to be mowed and would save us money. So we're going to be pursuing that. We've sent out a post, asking people if they want to join the community garden again. We've had a couple new people. I am overwhelmed in dealing with garbage, all sides of the district. It's wearing me out. And the very nice thing, the Allied Duns Marsh Neighborhood Association will be resuming our community meals again. They'll be starting I believe this Friday. Maybe Alderman Maldonado can confirm that, but we need volunteers to help serve. So that's all I have.
Thank you. And Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, fourth Friday of every month through the summer. So the Teen Center study is still in effect. The survey is still out. You can go to EQT by Design/engagement. There's a survey for adults as well as for youth in both Spanish and English. And to date, I think we've gotten 135 responses from adults and 25 from youth. And the goal is going to be 200 for youth and I believe 200 for adults. So please fill that out. Again, EQT by Design/engagement. And then I did mention some of the biking events that are coming up, and also to Alder Gearhart's point, I don't believe I've received a Fitchburg Star in a few months. So this is something I'm also very equally concerned about.
Thank you. All right, moving along to the public hearing on council amendments, the ARPA TID closure investment plan. We've got a few people here in the council chambers we will start with. First up, I have Steve Arnold. If you'd like to come up and speak to this.
Thank you. Steve Arnold, 2530 Targhee Street. I am appearing on behalf of Bike Fitchburg, our local bicycle advocacy group. We try to make biking easier, safer, and more fun in Fitchburg, but we are also advocate for the safety of all road users. So I am understanding from Alder Areta that she will be withdrawing Amendment 3. That's very important to us. The Wayland Road shoulder paving is a very, very important project for safety on that busy corridor. So we would like that amendment to not pass. We support Alder Maldonado's proposal to use some of the money for bike racks in city parks. There's only a few parks that have them. Bikes are an excellent way to get to parks, and be able to have your bike upright and secure is really important for a lot of people. So we think that's a terrific project. We would be glad to help by suggesting, making product suggestions and helping to figure out where they could best be used. We do think that the hub project is very important, and we support Amendment 19 to close the funding gap. And we support Amendment 22 to provide cost sharing for outside grants. I've detailed in the letter that I sent each of you and gave you who are here in the room this evening. We have already got one grant proposal into ARP, and we expect to put another grant proposal into the Dane County Bicycle Association to provide signage for what we call the Fitchburg Greenway system. That's our existing multi-use path system that we tend to not think of as a system of getting around. The longest path, it goes from Wayland Road to the Beltline Frontage Road, 4.2 miles, and passes many of the important commercial destinations, including the Leopold Post Road neighborhood, where many folks do not have access to a personal vehicle. So we would really urge you to support those three amendments, 9, 19, and 22, and we would be grateful for any of your questions this evening.
All right, thank you very much. I have next on the agenda for Eric Kimball.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Hi, good evening. My name is Eric Kimball. I'm the Vice President of Bike Fitchburg. Our president couldn't be here tonight. Mostly, I just wanted to make an awareness about the Wayland Road shoulders. So there, if you can imagine a little bit, there's a pinch point. So so you have an oncoming car, you have another car, and then one out of every 20 or 25 times, you'll have a cyclist there at that exact moment when there's an oncoming car, and then the car that's in their lane, they have to merge. The real difficulty is especially on the uphill. The driver cannot see the oncoming car. He cannot see that that driver is fighting with a bicycle at the pinch point, and it makes for a very nervous situation. I myself have ridden that road. Ironman 2016, 17, I've ridden hundreds of times, training rides, it comes up. And then the drivers have to negotiate. On a flat road where everyone can see each other, it's much better. On a hill where you can't see that the driver's trying to merge with a bicycle, it really is very dangerous. So I would just advocate that that shoulder be put in for the safety of bicyclists. And the other factor is just that M is extremely busy to get over to Verona. So people either use the Military Ridge path or they use Wayland. So Wayland is like a corridor to Verona from south to north. So for me, it just would really make sense to have a shoulder there for bicyclists. Other than that, just to support the other amendments Steve spoke about and answer any questions if there should be. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one.
We don't go back and forth.
I'm not going back and forth, I'm just asking a question. Are
Yeah,
you
but
gonna,
that's-
the city of Verona, or are you going to
Dave,
You
we
could
can't,
petition them to
we
get
can't go back
shoulders
and
also.
forth, Dave. Dave, we can't, that's,
It's not even a,
it's not discussion, it's
it's not a Fitchburg
up
city issue.
hearing, unfortunately. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm just saying it's needed.
All right, thank you.
It's in our letter.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I also have Judith Statler. If you'd like to come up and speak to the various amendments that you'd like to speak to, that'd be great.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm Judith Stadler. I live at 5629 Newtone Street. I'm here to support the mayor's proposal to expend $300,000 from the ARPA funds and the TID 6 closure on sustainability items. Especially important are funds to increase the amount for the city's sustainability plan. The more robust you can make that sustainability plan, the better it will be as a guide for all future steps you will take to act on the city's commitment to a clean energy future. That commitment was laid out in the City of Fitchburg resolution to address global climate change through clean energy, R2619, which you passed about 3 years ago. A good sustainability plan will guide you on electrification of city buildings and operations, on fleet conversions to hybrids or electric vehicles, on carbon sequestration through city plantings and landscaping. It will also be important for motivating Fitchburg homeowners and business owners to do their parts by making their own sustainability decisions as they build homes or commercial properties, replace appliances, or improve weatherization in their homes or commercial properties. I also support LED lighting fixtures in all city buildings, including this building and this room. In addition, I support Alder Gerhardt's amendments number 16 and 17. It makes complete sense to use solar panels for powering lift stations, wells, and pumps. And I support a solar shelter for a future city park, such as the Hub or Stoner Prairie, or at the Tower Hill Park upgrade. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we have some people online. Who should we go to first, Scott? Dave Heidi. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, go ahead.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead. Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead. Oh. Did we lose him? All right, hopefully he comes back on. Who should we go to next? Cavazos. Jessica, are you there? Excellent.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm here to support the TID funding under Alder Maldonado's support for the Latino Chamber to have a incubator and learning accelerator at 5262 Verona Road. And it is a great honor to say that we are in negotiations right now, contingent to funding, to have this property in our name and to purchase it. So there are a lot of exciting things going on with the Chamber. We've been residents of Fitchburg since 2017. Thank you, Julia, and thank you, former Mayor Sean Path, for convincing us to relocate here. The Chamber has, since our making our Fitchburg our home, we've had great success with our classes, serving over 5,000 people last year with our hybrid model virtually, giving not only business coaching classes, but also workforce upskilling classes for those who are displaced during COVID. And so for us, it would be a much need support. I mean, we need the support from the city of Fitchburg to make this happen, because without your support, we really wouldn't be where we're at right now, as successful as we are right now. So I'm going to seize my time also to my colleague, Jessica Tomey, who's on here with me, who's going to talk about her portion, which is the funding and the workforce accelerator part.
All right, thank you, Jessica. If you would like to speak as well, go ahead.
Sure, and it's the two Jessicas, and that's just how it is. So, but I work with Jessica and have been working with her for about 1.5 years, and I've watched the chamber grow in its presence. And the support from the community that the chamber has gotten in the last couple of years as a result of COVID and because of their business excellence has been tenfold. So this is an organization that's moving forward. It's doing great things. With this place that we're, the 5262 Verona Road, we're going to be able to do so much for the city of Fitchburg. And we've been really phrasing this as a gateway to the community that's well positioned after that renovation. There's really strong interest in this project by everyone that we've spoken to. And so it would be really helpful to get the city of Fitchburg on board early and upfront because we know our other partners will be there. And many of you may have seen just today, for example, Governor Evers announced that he has supported Jessica Cavasso's proposal to provide $3.3 million in the training that she does better than anybody else in the state. So we're making a big move forward, and we're really anxious and hopeful to have you all with us as partners. Alder Maldonado, if there's other things that you had us, were interested in having us talk about, we would love to do so as well. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have other people online as of right now? All right, I got to read a couple, so hopefully
Dave Heidi is going to be jumping on soon. He just had bad Wi-Fi.
That's no problem. I got a couple of letters I can read while we're waiting for him. First, I have an email from Katie Tredenick. As a member of the Healthy Neighborhoods Committee, I would like to register my support for Amendments 19, add funding for Hub Phase 1, 20, add additional H&I grant funding, and 21, add funding for Little John's Restaurant. As an avid cyclist, I would like to register my support for Amendment 9, city infrastructure for bike parking stalls at major city parks. As a climate activist, I would like to register my support for Amendments 10, city infrastructure tree replacement for emerald ash borer affected trees. 12, city infrastructure consultant to plan park and rides. 16, sustainability initiatives solar shelter. 17, sustainability initiatives solar panels. And 18, sustainability initiatives update street lighting. And it looks like we got Dave back. Hopefully you don't get booted again. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm here in support of Amendment 21 to help with funding through the ARPA funds for Little John's. So thank you guys so much for letting me talk. We are doing a huge renovation to 5302 Verona Road. We'll be putting in food access for up to 200,000 meals a day. We're currently doing about 10,000 meals a day, and we're putting about $10,000 into that building, and a big chunk of that is also making it a building that looks beautiful in that neighborhood. So it's not just a big empty warehouse. We want it to really look as beautiful as possible. So being able to use those funds for our build out is absolutely wonderful. So I guess if there are any questions, I'm definitely open to it, but I'm just here to speak in favor of that. So thank you guys so much for considering it.
Thank you very much. I have another letter from Troy Klein, who lives in Fitchburg. I support the following Alder amendments: the ARPA TID6 proposed mayoral funding allocations. 13, add startup funding for municipal tree nursery. Trees are a proven contributor to reducing the heat island effect and for increasing property values. The payoff of a rigorous tree planting and tree canopy planting program has a healthy payoff, fiscal, economic, environmental, for each dollar invested. This augments my email comments excerpted above, said on February 18, 2022. This is a list of web pages and documents which I have obtained by using an internet search engine, searching on value of trees to property value studies. There are many academic studies, case studies, and white papers which add weight to the viewpoint that trees have significant environmental, social, economic, and financial benefits to communities. Trees that are carefully selected for the challenging growing environment in city's streetscape rights of way have positive payoffs for mayors and council members in the area that they increase the property values, such that the increased property taxes far exceed the initial investment by a municipality. So that value comes from ingredients that are nature provided, i.e. sunshine, CO2, and water. A plus is that removal of CO2 captures carbon and releases oxygen, a win-win for the trees and the city. A selected partial list for my search engine results. He has a bunch of links here. I'm not going to read URLs, but he did send this to everyone on council, so that is available if you are interested at home. Please consider supporting this ARPA TID6 funding amendment and future support for city tree infrastructure and staff as a very sound investment by the city. There are very few investments anyone, including Fitchburg, may make that increase in value with essentially free ingredients and that are proven to increase city funding resources, especially under Wisconsin spending caps based on property values. In direct support of Amendment 3, I've attached an informative article by someone describes how a tree nursery developed an arborist easily became a local and regional resource around Ottawa, Canada. Respectfully, Troy Klein. And I also have another letter. Dear Mayor and Elders, the Fitchburg Senior Friends continue to have a great deal of interest in seeing the city provide more reliable and affordable transportation for older adults in our community. We are aware that city employees will be presenting transportation options at the Committee of Whole meeting in April, but FSCF wants to emphasize that additional transportation is no longer a wish, but a must. As residents of Fitchburg choose to age in place, as more senior apartment housing becomes available, and after the city annexes parts of the town of Madison, the basic and yet critical need for transportation will escalate even further. Presently, the senior center bus provides rides only for the lunch hour time. It does not provide rides for senior events and programs before or after the lunchtime. This prevents seniors from participating in needed exercise programs, presentations, and services that the senior center offers. A separate bus will allow seniors to participate in these events that are conducted outside of the lunchtime hours. The purchase of a bus and the funding to do so is probably the easiest part of the senior center bus issue. There are several available sources of funding, along with the FSCF's willingness to be a partner in the purchase of a bus. We'll be happy to meet with city employees to discuss such a partnership. Your interest and attention to the senior center need is greatly appreciated. We hope one of the alternatives that will be presented to you will show how this can be done without any much or possibly any expense to the city budget. Thank you and best regards, Bob Hillner, President of the Fitchburg Senior Center Friends. And that is everyone that I had. Oh, we got a late email, it looks like, from Thad Schumacher. I want to take the opportunity to thank the council and mayor for their dedication to our community. I wish I could attend tonight in person, but the schedule is not permitting that. Although I am not a board member in Bike Fitchburg, I echo their public statement. I've attached a copy of it for your records. As a business owner and cyclist in Fitchburg, I understand the value and tax base that cycling provides our community. We need to make efforts to foster that cycling vibe and encourage more people from our entire community to engage in cycling. It is vital and long overdue that Whalen Road have its paved shoulders completed for cycling safety. I ride that route routinely, and it's very difficult to share the road with cars traveling at high speeds as you climb the hills. I am in full support of the amendment to place bike parking infrastructure throughout the community in our parks. Having a place to safely secure your bike makes it easier to consider riding it. I'm also in full support of the city fulfilling Bike Fitchburg's request to work on providing wayward signage to list points of interest and information on area businesses. I'm excited about having the new community hub project just down the street from our location. I look forward to what that can bring to the neighborhood. Thanks for your time. Please contact me if you have any questions. All right, now I think I've got everything and everyone spoke that is here and wants to, so we can close the public hearing and move on to actual discussion and action on the amendments themselves. First, Randy, would you like to do a motion on the resolution?
Yes, one moment. Motion to approve Resolution R-18-22, adopting the ARPA TID number 6 closure investment plan.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. And Misty is here. Come on up, Misty. Why don't you, before we get started here, I think you might have a few things you want to tell us about. You have lots of things to tell us. You're very knowledgeable.
Thank you, everybody. So this has been a relatively short process, I guess, in the whole scheme of things, but wanted to remind you about kind of what the goal of this plan is. So this is not a budget. It's not even CIP. This is even before that process. So tonight we don't have to worry about hitting a particular number. Really what you're doing is saying whatever's approved tonight, you want staff to explore that, bring something forward to you in the future that would then implement it. So this is very high level scope reducing document. That's all I have.
So I think the plan is to go through these, and they're in the order, I think, that they were submitted to you. And we'll, kind of like we do a CIP, have, I believe, someone make the motion to approve it, and discussion from there, and if people want to make amendments, we can do that as well. And so I think we can get started on the amendments, unless there's anything else. I don't know if there's any questions people have about process, but if there isn't, yeah, Gabriel?
Do we need a second on every amendment? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we do. Yep. All right, so why don't we go ahead with number 1, and that's Gabriella.
I move approval of amendment number 1, city facility improvements, election equipment.
Second.
Seconded by Jay, and would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, so, we've had lots of conversations about this, but basically I'm of the strong belief that we need more polling locations in the city. This is gonna be more urgent in October when we annex the town of Madison. The District 3 polling place is gonna be the community center, and it's quite a long ride from that part of town all the way to the community center. And then also, I do think it's important that we eventually have 2 polling places in District 1 on either side of Verona Road. And election equipment costs are often a barrier, and I'm hoping that we can use a little bit of this money to reduce that barrier. Thanks.
All right. Questions, comments? Shannon?
I actually have one for Tracy.
Yeah.
Because I know she does a lot of the ordering and, have you guys talked about anything about like maybe new polling places or potential in the town of Madison?
Tracy?
Yes, so after the August election, when we annex the town of Madison, we'll be looking for a polling location that services the town of Madison. There's a couple places in mind. One may be the fire station on Cyene Road. There's a couple buildings that are within the town of Madison that we're going to be investigating and looking at and making sure they meet the criteria.
Follow up, yeah.
Do we have to get new machines for those places, or do we get those with the annex? Do you know?
I think, are we requesting the voting machines from the town of Madison, Tracy, or not? I can't remember.
Yes, we are looking at getting their DS200 tabulating machine and whatever voting booths they have. But there's still other equipment that would need to be purchased and provided, badger books and just supplies and needed for the election workers.
And lots of election workers. Randy?
What is is this typical 25,000 for a voting machine? Just one machine, or it would be multiple, or?
Go ahead, Tracy.
Tracy, I'm sorry, the question's for Tracy.
Yeah, yeah, that's typical for just one DS200 machine.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, 25,000, 2,500.
Oh, 2,500.
For one DS200 machine. But when we budgeted for adding another polling location in the CIP, 27,000, I believe, was what we came up with in the CIP.
Okay. 2,700 or 27,000?
27,000.
Okay. So I guess I'm confused. Are they 2,700 or 27,000?
So
for everything is 27,000, including machines and badger books and all that stuff. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Got it. All right.
Oh, but that,
Randy,
back to my original question, so is that one polling location?
2,500 is not with everything you need. It's one machine that tabulates, but there's badger books and there's other things that we need as well.
Yeah.
In addition to the 25.
Yeah.
Randy's question was,
Jay?
what is this 25,000 for? And I think that's to open one.
Kind of like, what are we going to get for it? Yeah.
Is there's because you have the voting machines and you need the booths and you need a couple of laptops so people can look up voting records and all that nonsense, tables, chairs, whatever.
Okay. Further questions, Dave?
Gabrielle, I disagree with you on, I think it'd be nice, but having a second polling place, District 1, I think it's more of a solution in need of a problem. If we look at it historically, we used to have to vote in District 1 at the old fire station, I mean, the one on Lacey Road. Everyone went there, and since that time, if you look at our history, the fire station on King James, or on Anton, where we voted for quite a few years, that was built in 1990, served our district well. From that site in 2008, in the historic election, Barack Obama was elected as the first African-American president from that location by a big margin in that district, even larger in 2012. Since that time, we can vote absentee, we can vote early, we have lots of options. And if we look at 2020, an historic election, more votes were cast here than ever before in Joe Biden's election and the historic first female vice president. So I've been to nearly every house in the part of the district that was added to one, told everyone where their place was. No one there said, well, that's too far for me to go vote. And if I go to the farthest place, the farthest house on Seminole, it's less than 2 miles up to Little John's, and I know the residents there, and I asked them if they have a problem, and they said, no, it's a hell of a lot easier than when we used to have to go way down to City Hall. So I just feel it's a solution in search of a problem where it'd be nice, but I think our people are finding the ability to vote easily the way it is.
We got Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. So first off, we have the lowest turnout consistently in District 1, and we always have. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we have a lot of multi-family unit housing. There's a lot of movement within the district, but we also have a lot of transportation issues. And I was the one that, proposed that we move the polling place to its current location, just because we have such a large bulk of residents there. And I've been walking around as well, and there's many people who didn't even know that there was a new polling place. And particularly if we're thinking about a second location in District 1, which is what Alder Gerhardt is proposing, we would be looking east of Verona Road, east of Verona Road. And, still it's a trek for people that live, either in the Nakoma Heights apartments or that live in the Belmar apartments, or folks that live anywhere in the Duns Marsh neighborhood. Many people don't have reliable transportation, which is an issue we talked about, previously in this meeting. So, being able to have that access within walking distance to a polling place is going to be a huge game changer for our residents. Because right now, unless you live on the Madison side of the neighborhood and you're voting at the Boys and Girls Club, which is in Fitchburg, nobody that lives on the Fitchburg side of that neighborhood that doesn't have a car can easily get to their polling place. Whether it's here, whether it was at the fire station the past couple of years, that transportation is not available. So I fully support Alder Gerhardt's amendment. I think we need more access to voting for our residents.
Gabriel?
Yeah, I just want to say I do welcome the conversation about creating specific specific locations, specific polling places. But ultimately, my justification was more as an illustration that there's potentially at least 2 polling places that we could create in the near future. And certainly, I hope that everyone agrees that Town of Madison should have a separate polling place because of how far it is from the community center. And bottom line is that I just think that election equipment and voting machines should be on the table for use for TID-ARPA money. So even if you disagree about precisely where the polling places would be, I hope that you could still support this amendment because I think we do, at some point in the near future, we'll need more polling locations. The where and the when it starts, I think, is up for discussion later.
All right. Anything else? Misty, do you want us to do roll call on all these?
I guess it's up to you. So if you do roll call, it costs more to publish it, but if it's close. all about.
All right, we'll try it without roll call, and if there's anything close, I can do roll call for it.
Can we cover that with ARPA funds?
All right, then we can go ahead and vote on number 1. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay.
Nay.
I believe the ayes have that one. And we'll go on to amendment number 2, Dave.
I move approval amendment number 2 to add a senior center outdoor patio.
Second.
Seconded by Jay, and would you like to speak to this?
This was requested by by Jill, Director of the Senior Center. They would like a space for outside, that our seniors could have lunch and do activities in the nice months of the year. They have to follow certain architectural guidelines based on Promega, so there's a little more cost for it. But they believe this would be a very nice enhancement to the senior center and make it more attractive to our people using this services.
All right. Other questions, comments? Julie?
So do you know where exactly? Do you have any idea?
I do. If you go over there, just it's on the right side and kind of out the. If I go out that direction, I believe is where it would.
On the north side.
On the, I guess that would
East
be
side.
East side.
Northeast.
Northeast side. Yeah.
Northeast. Yeah.
There's a door there now. And so it'd be concrete patio, and I believe there'd be some furniture, and I think there'd be like a trellis or whatever you call that, over the top.
Anything else? Seeing nothing else, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And opposed, nay. That one's approved. On to number 3, Julia.
I am withdrawing this amendment.
All right, number 3 is withdrawn. Number 4.
So this will move approval of increasing the city infrastructure for the
Nope. Number 4 is Kids Crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. I was just reading. It's not what it says on the agenda, so I was looking at
Oh,
the
I am
agenda.
reading from the.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, my fault.
So it's a city infrastructure adding. Yes. Add Kid Crossing replacement at McKee Farm Park.
Second.
Sent by Gabriella. Would
So-
you speak to that?
Yeah, so as you know, this park is going to be redesigned or it had to be redo in I think in the CIP for 2026, that is going to be around $750,000, but we don't know exactly that when it's going to be the amount. So the idea is to be fined 50-50, 50 private and 50 public funds. So what I am doing with this amendment is to allocate some of these ARPA or TID funds, $250,000 for our public part, of this, of when we need to, rebuild this park, okay? So I don't think that it's going to cost $750,000. It's going to cost more, but the idea is, let's put some money aside for this park. As you know, park are an essential part in the city. And yeah, I don't know, you read the last edition from the City Municipality magazine that they talk about that parks and recreation are an essential public service for our community. So, and I think this is an investment for the community. I don't know, I live 2 blocks away from the park. This is, people use this park starting April to, I don't know, October. You can see kids playing there, and it's a bit attraction for our city, and I think we need to, to put some money aside when the time comes to replace it, so.
All right, any questions, Jay, and then Rainey?
Yeah, when Kids Crossing was originally built, I think it was 1999. It was a big community project. My company donated $10,000. I think the total raised was around $400,000. But we must have had, on a couple of those days, we must have had 50 or 60 just residents of the cities out there turning wrenches, slinging hammers, doing all kinds of things to try to get that thing built. So I don't know what our plan is for the reconstruction. I'm sure it's going to cost more than $400,000. That included the cost of an architect and buying all the materials. But I do hope that we have some kind of community outreach to try to attract volunteers again. I spent 4 days working on it, and I know there were others who spent even more. I think the total was like a 10-day project, and that was mostly erected by volunteers.
We got
Isn't it?
Randy, go ahead.
Jay, you answered the question, at least back in 1999, $400,000. I was curious as to what it would cost today.
Yes, sir.
But I would echo your statement as far as community involvement. If we had that in 1999, there's no reason we couldn't duplicate it today. So unless there's some city issue, but I think in spirit, it would be a great movement.
Other comments or questions? Dave, go ahead.
You know, where will you mentioned, you know, it'd be a 50-50. Where's the 50% not from the city coming from?
You look at the CIP, this plan has been there for the last 4 years, 5 years, kind of, yeah. Originally, when it was put in the CIP, it was only to fund, the city should be funding this 100%, but then I put an amendment in 2016, my second year council, that to say how we can do this 50-50, because it's going to be a huge investment, and it's going to cost more than $750 because this is our number that we incorporated in the CIP like 6 years ago. So the idea was to have to do what we are doing with the inclusive playground, 50-50, you know.
I understand that. Where's that 50% funding, or where do you anticipate that coming from?
Well, it could be grants, you know. It could be corporate sponsorship, individual donations, you know.
So I'm with you. I'm just saying, doesn't move ahead unless we have those in hand, okay? That's what I would say. I think we'll get those. I would just like to have those in hand before we break ground.
All right. Seeing nothing else, we can go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that one is approved. Next up, number 5, Julia.
Next one, number 5, I will withdraw this one because we already approved a resolution 2 weeks ago.
All right, how about number 6?
Or number 6, 1 second. So this one is, I move approval of increasing the inclusive playground fund for purchasing some benches for $4,000.
Second.
Sent by Gabriella. Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, this is a part of, as you know, the inclusive playground is going to be done this year. There are a lot of stuff that they are not covered, like picnic table, benches, that we need to buy additionally. So I will think that these funds are a great fit for, investing in this park so we can have the benches ready when we open. It's only $4,000.
Questions, comments? Yeah, Chad?
I wasn't able to make the last meeting when this was talked about with the resolution, but I thought that the benches were included in the additional funding that was requested. It was not?
Misty?
Yep, I believe it was. So we did a $50,000 amendment that included completing the project as originally planned. And then it was the $75,000 for the fencing that was not approved by council.
Okay, so can I amend the pool for picnic tables? Because I want to tell you, when you have a wheelchair, the picnic table, they are different than the regular picnic table that you need to have in another part of the park. I don't know how much it costs, but we don't have that in the budget. So if we can use $4,000 for the inclusive program from, benches or picnic tables, you know what I mean?
So I guess my question is, what it says here is it's funding for benches. To say it's funding for picnic tables, can we do that, or is that a new set? Because that's a separate item. So I guess that's a question for Misty.
So I think it's related enough that you could amend it to say that instead. But Chad has a great point. Everything that's in the current plan is accounted for now with the funding.
That would include
And then
tables.
doing benches, picnic tables, et cetera, would all be eligible for park fee funding as well. So just
Okay, so everything is already funded. This would be duplicative, almost,
except the fencing.
except fencing.
Okay, so I wasn't aware that the picnic table were part of that resolution.
Yep.
So this is what the benches, so,
They
okay,
are.
but
So
I want to keep it.
you keep it in, all right?
Yeah,
That's fine.
$4,000.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And opposed, nay.
Nay?
We gotta do a roll call because did not hear very much enthusiasm on either one of those. So Tracy, please do a roll call.
Yep, and this is on Amendment 6. Alder Allen,
Well, this isn't an actual commitment to spend the money, so I'll say yes.
Alder Rada,
Yes.
Alder Gerhart,
Aye.
Alder Herbst,
Aye.
Alder Maldonado,
Aye.
Alder Strassman,
I'm abstaining.
Alder Udell. Alder Wheeler,
Aye.
motion carried.
All right, that one passed. Thank you. Number 7, Julia.
Okay. So one second. 7 is, okay, so I move approval of adding fund for the Tower Hill shelter. Replacement.
Second.
Sent by Gabriella. And do you want to speak to this one?
Yeah, so this one is something that we discussed at Park Committee, and we want to, this shelter had been in the CIP plan for many, many years, and it's going to be, is scheduled to be replaced in 2027. I have received a lot of calls, the neighbors living around that we have been, moving this project for the last couple of years, and it's a shelter that is, I don't know if you're aware that, people use a lot. There is a soccer and there is a softball field. Is every Saturday and Sunday there are people, they are celebrating something. The people are used, but the conditions are awful. So I think that, I don't think that we are going to replace the shelter with $250,000. It's going to cost much, but at least it's putting money aside to for this shelter and to try to build it before 2027. That's it.
All right. Questions, comments? Seeing Randy.
This does not come out of, the rebuild does not come out of park money because it is a rebuild, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't use park
Or
improvement.
replacement, yeah. That's what I thought, I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah. Jay?
Just since I see Scott's on the line, I wonder if he could talk to us specifically about the shelter and what the deficiencies currently are.
Go there.
I haven't been to that shelter for several years, so.
Go ahead, Scott.
Well, and certainly I could attest that it is an older shelter, and certainly has a lot of wear and tear on it. And I think just it may have been constructed as one of the first park shelters within the system. So certainly it is due for renovations or repair, and then potentially even replacement. But certainly could use some updating and upgrading to the facility just because of its age, if anything else.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That one passes. Number 8, Julia.
Okay, so number 8 is I move approval of adding a water fountain at Belmar Park.
Second.
Sent by Jay. You go ahead and speak to this one.
Yes, in 2019, this water fountain was removed from the CIP. And I think that, it needs one, so people are using more parks, and I think so we need to invest in this park and add the water fountain.
Dave?
I agree with you, Julia. My experience, if you don't have a water fountain, then someone is picking up all the plastic water bottles that are laying around. So I think having one, people bring reusable bottles, and the park stays cleaner and it is used more.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I live right down the street, so I fully support this. There's always a lot of people at that park. I was there 2 days ago and it was full. So I agree. And then to Alder Herbst's point, Alder Radafrada, is there, would this be one of those bottle water fountains that has the space that you can sort of put under the sensor and water fills it up?
I don't know, you can build one of those with $4,000. So this is a question for Scott. I don't know how much.
Scott, do you know
How
if
much would
that's
something
an
like
option?
that cost?
In actually, all of our newer drinking fountains, we do provide that as part of it. So, certainly it's going to be a little bit more than 4,000, but certainly the 4,000 would help get the project moving. That's for sure.
I think also having, being near Boys and Girls Club, who has a sustainability plan, I think it could be a good educational kind of experience on saving plastic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That one is approved. Number 9, Joe.
Yes, you heard folks enthusiastically speak to this, and I also spoke to it at the committee of the whole meeting, so I don't have much further to say other than this furthers.
Oh, first, can you do a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. I move Amendment 9.
Second.
Adding, okay.
Seconded by Jay. All right. Sorry to interrupt you. Do you want to add any more?
Yeah, you gotta be fast to beat Jay. So I would say it furthers our, bike and ped plan recommendations. It gives more opportunities for folks to be able to park their bikes throughout the city and commute that way. So.
All right. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. That one's approved. Next up is number 10, Gabriella.
I move approval of amendment number 10, tree replacement for emerald ash borer affected trees.
Second.
Sent by Julia. And go ahead and speak to this.
Yes, so as you all know, emerald ash borer have been killing ash trees throughout the city. It's a problem on private property as well as public property. We have about 450 trees that will need to be replaced on public land. And it's really difficult to incorporate that extra funding into the budget to cover this since it cannot be debt financed. And so I think this is a great use for one-time funding. It's a one-time issue. It'll be gone after we replace the trees, after replace those ash trees. And I ask you to support adding it to the table for this money.
Jay.
Can you really buy a tree for $300?
Yes, they're baby trees, but yes.
Then that would cover the cost of pulling the stump of the old one and digging the hole and planting a new one.
I would have to defer to Scott on that question if you have the answer.
Yep, and actually the last, for the spring tree planting, we did get a price of $245 per tree, which is 1.5 to 1 3/4 caliper tree, which is, we'd also have those planted is included in that price. But the park staff is the one that we've got a stump grinder that goes and grinds the stump and fills it with soil and seeds it. So that's done by staff. So this would cover the purchase and planting of 450 trees.
What type of trees are those?
But they'd vary, different species. Is that what you mean, or?
Like, are we gonna plant a bunch of Dutch elms instead, or? I mean,
Well, and that's where Anna's really done a good job in
With these-
creating diversity within the tree canopy that we have. Because certainly, there's going to be something else that's going to come along and take out a species. So she's very conscious of the diversity of the trees that we do plant.
Yeah, I know when I was on Parks Commission over 10 years ago, we were already doing this. I mean, we talked about the diversity, and we did a good job, actually. We did not hit by emerald ash borer as bad as some communities, but we continue to make sure that our diversity of trees is higher and higher. So we're not relying on one species that might get hit by a disease. Scott, one just quick question for you. How old are those trees that we plant, the 1.5-inch trees? How old is a tree that size?
Probably 5-6 years old.
Great. Gabriella?
I just wanted to say too that I'm sorry, I'm not a tree expert, so I can't list the species, but I have heard Anna does really focus on tree diversity, and we actually did an education event last year, and I hope we do more in the future about people choosing diverse trees for their own personal property versus it just being public land. I mean, I live on Mickelson Parkway, which is like parallels Fish Hatchery Road, and when they put those public trees in, it's literally just like a smorgasbord of all these different trees. Now they're 20 years old, so it's kind of cool. It's like you can walk and see all the different tree species, and I think Quarry Hill actually has for diversity, and they've actually labeled them in a way, so you can actually look at all the diversity of trees that you can plant in the city. And then she is also tracking those future potential invasive species which is why maple trees are like a potential at-risk tree for future invasive species. So, and people choose a lot of maples. So, but anyway, yeah, she's very much tracking that.
Ready?
Your proposal of the investment plan, do you account for trees? I thought there was a dollar amount there as well, or no?
I believe that we did have some money for additional tree plantings.
I thought there was some additional.
Separately, or did that?
No?
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was part of the conversation. But the tree replacement, is this in city parks only, or is it in terraces as well, within the road right-of-way, or all of the above?
Go ahead,
it does
Scott.
vary, yep, depending on the location of the ash tree itself.
So when the ash tree comes out, we would put another tree in?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Anything else? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That one is approved. Number 11, Gabriella.
Yes, thank you. So I move approval of amendment number 11, tree inventory consultant.
Second.
All right, signed by Julia. And you want to speak to this?
Yes, so I was kind of shocked when I learned that we do not actually have a complete tree inventory for the city of Fitchburg. It definitely makes the management of the urban forest difficult, and we require a tree inventory piecemeal whenever we require one. And then as a side note, I guess I just would say, like, the data is important. We need to know what we have in our city in order to be able to make good decisions moving forward. So I think having that inventory completed means that then we can just continually update it as we move through the years. Also a note that Fitchburg is a Tree City USA. We've been there for over 20 years, but the two things we are missing to move us into the Tree City of the World category would be a tree inventory, number one, and number two is a tree protection ordinance, which, as you've heard me drone on about for many months, that we're working on that in tree advisory. And we would be only the second city in the state of Wisconsin to achieve a Tree City of the World designation if we are able to do it. So I think it's perfect for one-time use money. It's a consultant, get it done, and then it's done.
All right. Randy?
What does a tree inventory look like? Is it a large spreadsheet, or is it a mapping? With maybe GIS or something like that, or what? Do you have some idea?
Can Scott, could you comment on that, or?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yep.
Scott.
Yeah, it's basically a data source, and it is by GIS where they go out and actually locate each of the specific trees, and then we could place it in a layer, or a GIS layer of the maps. It also is able to provide, you can query different species and all of those kinds of things. So it really is basically a data source of the urban trees within the city.
Okay, thank you.
Gabriella?
Also, my understanding too is that the new city resources we have in place will help with this effort. I mean, maybe we could even do some of it in-house, but our new GIS coordinator has been hired, and he has experience with tree management, forestry in the past, and then also the new drone can assist in that as well, getting that bird's eye view. So I think we're like in a particularly perfect position to execute this. And maybe with that new staff resource, maybe we wouldn't even be able to have to spend as much as this. I don't know. It's worth the staff investigation, I guess, is where I'm going with this.
All right. Seeing nothing else, we can go to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. And number 12.
I move approval of amendment number 12, consultant to plan for park and rides.
Sent by Julia. And do you want to speak to this one?
Yeah, it's very similar to what I've shared in the past. So we're a growing city. We have very limited arteries that get to the highways and to the city of Madison where a lot of people work, and vice versa, people coming into the city of Fitchburg. And I think as we move forward, we're gonna have to think about how we get single-use vehicles off the road. And one good way to do that with a type of community like us where we may have people living here that work in the city of Madison, very much a direct route, we could have park and rides where people park their car and we have a bus that they hop on and they go straight into Madison, come back at the end of the day, and then they're not driving on Fish Hatchery Road. And this has actually been identified by Wisconsin Department of Transportation as 3 potential, in their just like theoretical ideas that there's 3 potential locations in the city of Fitchburg to put park and rides. Obviously, we would need to do some preparation to make that happen, figure out exactly where. Maybe we have to acquire land in the near future. We need to figure out what the feasibility is. But my guess is that there's probably going to be grant funding on the line in the future. But I think we need to really know what's possible, what's feasible, what we want to put into the capital improvement plan going forward. And in order to do that, I think we just need to assess the feasibility of this upfront.
Dave?
Gabrielle, can it be done, this one-time money, we can't, how long will this take, because we can't hire a consultant for 5 years, we won't have it's a one-time, so give me your thoughts on that.
I mean, I think it would be a short-term project, and my what I would imagine, and obviously staff would have to have a lot of weighing in on this, but it's just us to really, it's really kind of more of a feasibility study. It's to figure out where these locations are, what it might cost, so that really we can plan for it in the CIP. Because we might be looking at potential land acquisition, and if we have no idea where that's going to be, I don't think we have any way to properly plan for it. So, but yes, I believe this would be a short-term project.
Okay, fair enough. Just promise me, I'm not going to, if I'm here in a few years, there's not going to be an amendment for a full-time park and ride coordinator for the city.
No, I would love to see this like in the transit plan in the near future that we're putting together, and then also probably in the sustainability plan, and we'll have the information ready to plan for it properly.
Joe, go ahead.
No, I love this idea. What were the 3 locations, just out of curiosity? Do you know?
Yes. WISDOT said the Verona Road, County PD, Fish Hatchery Road, County PD, US 14, Mccoy, Lacey Road. Those are the 3 general locations. And they already ranked all the locations all over the region, and those were, I think, they were in the top 5. All 3 were in the top 5 potentials, so.
I guess I just have one question then. I understand why those locations are selected, because there's bus service there and there's people, it's an entryway, but that also sounds like 3 really valuable areas for the city for, like, if we take those parcels of land out, and I guess the consultant will help decide this, but man, that's a lot of tax dollars that we would lose out on. And I understand the economic benefit, and unfortunately that's where the buses are. You can't do it down here because the buses don't go there, but at least if you want bus service to go there, I mean, I guess the consultant is to help determine that, but I don't know. Did you talk at all about that? Because that's just kind of that counterbalance there.
In terms of like the WISDOT discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, and that policy environmental linkages committee that I'm on, it's very much early conversations. So they're basically just like identifying potential areas that we need to discuss. Like it's super early. Yeah. So they just know that these are places that would be great. I don't think that we would put it right at those corners, but like maybe there's a location down Fish Hatchery Road that we would, if we do end up doing bus rapid transit 5, 7, 8 years down the road, maybe we extend it a little bit farther so people can hop on with the park and ride. I do think there are options, but I honestly I don't know enough about it to comment that much further. But yeah, it's very, very theoretical at this point.
Right across the street and the Madison property would be a perfect spot for it. All right, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, bus service is one thing, but, you know, when you look at parking downtown, you know, $300 a month or whatever, even if you got 5 cars into a parking ride and, you know, they all get into one car and go downtown, I think that's also an opportunity there too. And I don't know if the state still has their van pool, you know, also. So, I mean, I think we just got to look beyond just buses being able to be there, you know, look at other things also.
All right, Gabriel.
I can just, Jim, I can send you in the transit plan. There's actually this image about like a multimodal, like the parking ride could potentially be like a place for B-cycles, and like it could be a place where people meet and gather to travel in multiple different ways. So I think that your point is well taken, and I think that that's a little bit part of the transit plan. And there's this cool image that kind of shows you that. So we should talk more about that.
Randy.
I think it's a great idea, but if we do the feasibility study, is WISDOT going to listen to us to where they want those, ultimately where they want the parking rides? I mean, I just don't want to utilize the dollars and then this project, this study, feasibility study is just shelved, is what I'm saying. Generally, my experience is WISDOT will dictate down to us. We don't dictate up to them.
I mean, I guess I can't answer, I can't speak to this directly, but I guess my intention with this was to have a feasibility study in the hope that we could then put it in the CIP and plan for it properly over the next 10 years. That was my hope, was that it would give us enough specifics that we could actually plan for it in the future. Yeah.
Jay.
Hey, Randy, I think this study would, what I was envisioning with this is this would be specifically looking at Fitchburg residents and where Fitchburg residents are going. My suspicion is that we would probably end up being responsible for maintaining this, like snow plowing and, you know, crack sealing and that kind of nonsense. So I would expect that if we said to WISDOT, we've surveyed our residents, or we've done whatever we need to do, this is where a bulk of them would like to go from to get to point B, wherever point B is, whether it's in Madison or whether it's Epic or whether it's whatever. I think they would have to incorporate that into their decision-making process. Plus, this is also going to be incorporated not just with WISDOT, but it's also going to be Madison Metro that's going to get involved, or possibly the state van pool, which does still exist. I see those vans every once in a while. So,
Randy, go ahead.
I disagree with that statement, but I'm not saying this is a bad plan. It's just that I believe that ultimately we will be the owners of those parking rides all the way around. I don't believe WISDOT is going to listen to us that these are the most viable spots and that they're going to fund a portion of it. I'm just commenting, so that's all.
All right. Anything else? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay?
Nay.
Uh,
All right, the ayes have it. 13, Gabriella.
I move approval of amendment number 13, municipal tree nursery.
second.
Seconded by Jay.
And I am going to move to amend this to change it to piloting community gravel beds and changing the amount to $35,000.
Is there a second to the amendment?
Sure.
Jay is seconding. All right, do you want to speak to your amendment?
Yes, so if I can share my screen, I just want to share. Okay, so Anna Healy did a great, I can send you this presentation if anyone's interested, but we talked a little bit about municipal tree nurseries and the challenges of it. She got really specific, which was interesting. It brought up the type of points that you were talking about, the type of skilled labor it would need, the complexity of the project. So obviously, like I mentioned last time, it's really kind of a wish list. It's like a far in the future thing. But something that actually is potentially a very near-term thing would be community gravel beds, which has a much more boring name, but is actually quite exciting. One of the ideas of what it literally is an above-ground gravel bed like this, and you buy what are called bare root trees, like on the left side. So they're less expensive because their roots aren't as well developed. But you put them in these gravel beds at the beginning of at spring. You let them grow roots for 10 to 12 weeks, and then you pull them up and you plant them. Because they have a better root bed, they're much more likely to survive and thrive once they're planted. And then also you get that benefit of being able to buy less expensive trees. My understanding as well is that there are certain species that are difficult to buy with those extended root beds. So we don't have many of them in the city as a result, but with this type of model, you can buy the bare root versions, grow the roots, and then transplant them. So it kind of, it'd be an interesting thing to pilot. There are lots of cities in Wisconsin that do this. Apparently La Crosse is one very nearby that does this. It also is very good potential. You can use a lot of volunteer work because it truly is like you prepare obviously to build out the gravel beds, but after they're built out, you prepare them in the spring, you come in, you plant all the trees, and then they just have to be maintained throughout the spring, weeding, things like that, watering. And then at the end of the spring, we pull them out of the ground and plant them. It could really be some really cool volunteer events, big tree planting periods of time in the city. And I think it just sounds like a really interesting idea, and that I think will, in the long run, save us money. It'll be a beautiful way to teach about trees and great volunteer event. So I thought it was very exciting. So, and because tree nurseries was such a pie in the sky idea, I thought it'd make more sense to amend this resolution, bring down the money amount, and make it something that could be very near term. And I will take questions if anyone has any.
Questions or comments, Jay?
So there are two questions that come to mind, and they were going to come to mind with the original proposal anyway. But in this one, it becomes more of a question of what kind of species can you grow here? And since they're essentially growing in gravel, I mean, the tree that person was just standing with looked like it was about 6 or 7 feet tall. So since we're growing in gravel, what happens if we get a really nasty windstorm?
Okay. So maybe I didn't make it clear, but this is just like a one season. They don't stay over the winter. It's a very short term. Or are you talking about like how they stay upright?
Right, like how do they?
Yeah.
It's gravel doesn't sound like it's very easy to pull in and out and might tip over, but maybe it's.
I can't answer that question directly. I can certainly get you that answer. I mean, there's a whole when I sent you the email, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to you sooner, but there is a whole document, like there's guides to how to do these properly. There's lots of Wisconsin communities that do them well and successfully. And I certainly would maybe we could even tree advisory, or we could invite the council to go tour one. So I can get you that answer eventually. I just cannot get to you right now because I don't know the answer.
Well, the other question would be, as we're working, as we grow these trees, presumably we're putting in trees that we would like to see planted within the city of Fitchburg. So the question would be, as new development comes, can we require the developers to use our trees, the trees that we're growing?
I would think.
Well,
Can Scott comment on that?
Misty, do you want to speak to that? That concerns me about taking business away from local businesses, but go ahead.
The only thing I was going to add is a lot of the developments, not all of them, are required to give us an amount per tree that we then go and plant ourselves. So I guess I don't see how this would be too much different, using our own trees from bare root up versus something else.
Okay, that works.
Although to your point, the money would not be going into the private sector.
Right there, I mean, I guess that just comes down to money going towards, are we starting to compete with K&A and some of our local nurseries at that point?
Well, and what
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, if I might, it really, the function of the gravel bed is to grow that root system. So they're basically planted in the spring and then harvested in the fall. But I really see this as an application of within our urban woodlots to try and reforest our woodlots. So it kind of is a good method to do that. In regards to these going on to terraces and things like that, I think you bring up a good point that we certainly don't want to undercut private companies that provide that service for us. So this would really, as I see it, really more of a reforestation method for our parks or our woodlots.
I know you don't have all the answers. I guess now I'm a little bit confused if they're growing in a year, but we usually plant 5- and 6-year-old trees, and these are going to be like 2-year-old trees. That because the bareroot
that's-
trees are pretty small. Yeah,
Yep,
go ahead.
and that is the idea. You know, similar to a nursery, if you buy or you plant a tree, it'll take 5 or 6 years to get to a point where it is viable for sale. But this is really kind of, as I mentioned, a reforestation method or planting of trees within our existing city park in woodlots.
And I've planted a lot of bareroot trees, actually, thousands of them, for both my cousin and my uncle. And that's where I know how small they are and how small they are after a couple of years. So, and I know deer like to chew on them.
Yeah. The only thing I would say too is I don't think this would be every tree in the city. It would just be, like a selection of trees, and maybe they only go in certain spots. And this would honestly be just a pilot. Like, we try it out, see how it works, see if the trees succeed. But I don't think by any means every single tree plant in the city will be going through the gravel bed first. I think it'll be kind of a mix. Or it's certainly at least the beginning when we're piloting it, we just try it out. But I mean, there are communities that do this, like La Crosse. It may not be La Crosse, now I'm thinking that maybe I have that wrong. But there's a local community that does it very successfully. So we would be able to learn from people that are very equivalent to us in terms of what we can do with our tree canopy.
Good. Or Dave, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, are we saving any money? I realize it's a pilot. I'm not sure there's any, I think I'm pretty pro-tree, but I'm not sure there's any savings here, but.
Julia, go ahead.
Where do you envision to do this? Because the cities, we are in Park Commission, we are talking about the Ag Park in Terravesa. That one could be a very nice place to put this pilot. I don't know.
I think that's completely up for discussion.
Okay.
And if I can respond to Dave, I just was reading through this document that I sent, and it said, will using a gravel bed save my community money? And the answer is, assuming you currently plant containerized or balled and burlap trees stock, yes. Bare root stock on average is 1/4 of the price of balled and burlapped and 1/2 the price of a containerized tree. This, along with the reduced planting cost and higher survival rate for trees planted in the autumn, will add up to significant savings.
Thank you. Excellent answer.
All right. Randy?
Who will run this pilot? Would this be Parks, or would it Public Works, or?
I think Scott can comment, but it would be, Anna would lead it. I assume it would be a Parks Department as a result, because that's she's part of that department. And then I think we could get a team of volunteers to help manage it. There's a lot of tree people that love this, so I think we'd get some volunteers help as well. But Scott, please jump in.
Yeah, and again, it isn't every year we got to prune the trees and train the trees and those kinds of things. It's kind of in the spring and then out in the fall. So it really would reduce the amount of labor and those kinds of things needed. And certainly, Anna does a lot of volunteer activities, and the smaller the stock, they're, as Aaron can attest to, it's easier to transplant them if it's a smaller stock. And they're more likely to survive the transplant shock, if you would.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that
Did
one
we vote on the
passes.
amendment?
Sorry, that was the amendment, and now, the amendment's the amendment, I guess. Now, the main amendment, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, now 13 is completely passed. 14, Dave.
Move approval of amendment number 14 to add traffic calming in District 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Randy.
So there are a number of locations. I'm sorry, Jay, I don't have the map, but I will describe them. First in the context, it's approximately $15,000 for the tabled concrete traffic calming, and we are proposing those at locations on Williamsburg Way between Valley Forge and the Park, and Williamsburg Way between King James Way and the top of the hill before Smithfield. We are proposing 2 on King James Way, 1 between the park and Chesapeake, and 1 between the Pocket Park and Norfolk. Next location of traffic calming, Monticello Way between Valley Forge and going north towards the city of Madison. The other 3 proposed are on Crescent Road and Red Arrow Trail and Apache. Those locations, I'm not sure. Again, all of these, if there hasn't been a traffic study and they would still have to follow the same procedure. We also have 3 crossings that we've proposed that where we would paint the green for pedestrian crossings. One is at Williamsburg Way and King James Way. The other is on King James Way by the Pocket Park across the street. And the other, Alder Maldonado requested was on Anton Drive. So a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 8 traffic calming and 3 painted crosswalks. The estimate is probably a little high, but if they all got done, we're probably a little less, but we taking inflation into account. Why I had all these, a couple of them are much higher priority, obviously, in front of our park on the Pocket Park is the highest priority. Number of small children being in that area, but we thought with this funding, this would be a good use, try to get these all done in District 1 in 1 year and make it a safer district for our pedestrians and our children.
Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't had cause to drive through your neighborhood a lot over the last several years, but as it turns out, over the last several weeks, I've had several service calls over there, and I cannot believe, those stop signs might as well be in French. Nobody's even stopping. They don't. Oh, yeah. They don't even try to stop. And if I do stop, they're blaring their horn at me. So I think something needs to be done. I want to just clarify because you mentioned in your verbal description you mentioned tables. So you're talking about the 15 or 20 foot long tables, or are you actually?
I don't think they're that wide. If you would go on, City of Madison installed them on Williamsburg Way, north of Jamestown Park, and it'd be similar to those. Andrew has indicated to me, we used to do asphalt humps.
Right.
And now our standard is to have the tabletop.
Right. So that was what I wanted to clarify. So I'd like to make a friendly amendment to change speed humps and speed bumps to speed tables.
I would second that.
Motion. You can just be a friendly. You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Change in description. Okay.
We'll just add, Alder Allen's comment about the stop signs, and I've had this discussion with Chief Morales. I said, we're tired of it, but at the same token, there's more important things for the police, so our thinking is installing these will slow traffic and make it safer without having to request more police enforcement, which is always, as everyone knows, is temporary. It works for a short time.
So. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I agreed with that. And I think one of the big byproducts of the pandemic has been an increase in reckless driving. It's happened all over the country. I saw an article in the New York Times about it recently, and I grew up in Milwaukee, and it's out of control over there. So, yeah, I've gotten some really, feedback from a lot of people, especially about Smithfield and about King James Way. There was one guy said his kid almost got hit. So this is, I think this is both an urgent and important matter, and obviously fully support that. And it's backed by, feedback that we've collected, for a few years from residents, emails, verbally, and, folks going through the process that Alder Herbst mentioned.
All right, anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And opposed, nay? All right, that's approved. 15, Julia.
I will withdraw this amendment.
All right, how about 16, Gabriella?
I Move approval of amendment number 16, add funding to upgrade park shelter to solar shelter.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Can you go ahead and speak to this?
Yeah, so this is just kind of a interesting use of solar panels. We're obviously potentially going to replacing the Tower Hill shelter. You know, there's other shelters that are in need of repair. Stoner Prairie Park is going to be built in the near future. The hub potentially has a shelter that could be used. So the idea is just to incorporate some solar panels into the park system. It's a beautiful amenity as well. And then we add that additional solar power to our city grid. My understanding from talking to people that do solar energy around here is that adding it to our grid saves us money, even if the power isn't being drawn for the city specifically, because MG&E kind of looks at the annual output of the city versus individual moments. So anyway, I hope you support it. I think it's a really cool potential park amenity that could also save the city money in the long run.
Jay?
Okay. So I really like the idea. Gabriel, I want to know, can you do this for $50,000?
I do not know, and I think the staff, if this passes, the staff maybe should have to research that. But certainly, I mean, obviously, that it's all subject to what we can do. But yeah, I think we'll do some research.
Okay.
Anyone else? Jay?
One of the things we have in Wisconsin that most states don't have, there are several that do, is the utilities are required to buy that energy back, any excess energy back from the grid. So generally, these tend to end up being a not necessarily a money-making venture, but at least a break-even venture for the city.
Anyone else? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. That one's approved. Next one, Gabriel.
I move approval of amendment number 17, add funding to add solar panels.
Second.
Seconded by Jay.
This is very much separate from the other one because it's just general funding for solar panels. It's really meant to put them anywhere in the city that it's feasible. Because we use this one-time funding, we can immediately start reaping those cost savings because we don't have to pay off that initial upfront cost. We are planning to potentially put solar panels in this year at the lift station, which we did in the CIP and the budget last year. So that's potentially a candidate. We use this money and not have to use the water utility funding for it. But also, there's also a lot of grant funding out there for solar panels, so I think have this on the table potentially lets us utilize that grant funding opportunities as they arise. So I just like it to be under consideration for this money. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. That one's approved. And number 18, Gabriella.
Yeah, I move approval of amendment number 18, add funding to update street lighting.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Can you go ahead and speak to this?
This is the transition to LED street lights, and there's actually grant funding that Phil Groupie submitted earlier this year to pay for it. I believe that it has matching requirements, so this kind of would be meet that goal of trying to double this money wherever we can, and also to get that savings starting right away. So, and it's been in the CIP for many years, but we're finally able to probably do it in the near future.
All right. Jay?
There is one thing about switching to LED street lighting, and that is to be sure that we get the right light spectrum. So there have been some studies done that have shown that certain light spectrums of LED street lights can actually create more visibility problems because it's a different light spectrum than the high-pressure sodium or even low-pressure sodium for that matter. So we happen to now be in an age where you can get LED lights in a whole variety of spectrums, and I just want to be sure that we examine that and look at those studies and make sure that we pick the right thing that's going to work best.
I can certainly mention that to Phil, because he'll be involved in that process, I believe. So, yep, thanks.
Anything else? All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that one passes. Number 19, Julia.
19. I move approval of adding funding for the hub phase 1 for the park.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. And go ahead and speak to this.
So you know about this phase one, the park. That is this project is becoming more expensive because of the inflation costs and all of that stuff. So, but what I want to add some funding specifically for the all-wheels truck that is going to cost around $450,000, and we have some money allocated from in the budget for that, and also for Sari's Foundation. They are planning to contribute around $75,000, but then we're going to have a gap to build that all-wheel truck that is going to be the main attraction for that park. So I would like to put aside some money for that park. I think this park is going to be a great investment for the community, especially for an area that is growing. We are attracting a lot of new development, an area where there is no park. You know, we have the golf course, but it's a park where you have to pay to play. And this is an area where 11% of our population lives there. In multifamily, they don't have a yard, they don't have a patio. So I think investing in this community park there and putting aside some money for this is we are going to create a healthy neighborhood area. This is what we want to do for the north part of Fishhatchee Road. This one it's going to be an economic development catalyst from the city if we build this park, because more and more projects are coming to the corridor, and that what could be attraction for those future development to have a park like this, because they can sell the unit to the potential tenants about that. There is a great park by walking distance to your residence. So I think this funding fit with the needs in that area and to invest in this park. So I would like to put $200,000 aside for this park.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that one's approved. Number 20, Julia?
Yes, so I move, no, I'm doing what is 2020, okay. I move approval of Amendment 20, that is adding additional Healthy Neighborhood Initiative grant funding.
Second.
Sent by Jay. Go ahead and speak to this.
Yeah, so as you know, the city allocate every year $50,000 in the budget for the Healthy Neighborhood grant program. And I think that the needs from those areas is growing, and we have been working with this project from the last 4 years, and it's very attractive, and more not-for-profit organizations want to participate. But I think this is the if we want to continue working in improving these healthy areas in the city, I think we need to invest more money. And $50,000, adding $50,000 more each year in the next 3 years is going to be a good use of this money. So that's it.
Jay?
It appears from looking at the information you've provided us that that to start out with, the ARPA funding and the TID 6 money is all just kind of lumped together, and then as expenditures come out, you'll work the magic to make it all comply. Because I understood the ARPA funding had to be spent by 2024, right? And this goes a year beyond that.
So it has to be obligated by the end of '24 and spent by the end of '26.
Oh,
You're
okay.
exactly right. We'll, through the budget and CIP processes, we'll figure out which bucket each one of these projects will end up in.
Other questions, Dave?
Well, yeah, I respect your desire to do this. Philosophically, I think people that know me would say Dave is a very charitable person, both with his time and his finances. I'm opposed to taking taxpayer money and then redistributing it to charities. I feel that's individuals' responsibility, or the communities. It's not a city function. So, while I know the needs, and I try to meet them myself. I can't, as an alder, I can't take take city taxpayers' money and distribute it to charities. I don't think that's the function of local government.
Julia, go ahead.
Yes, I understand your position, Dave, but also, the city has a lot of needs. And working with this not-for-profit from the last 4 years has shown that there is a good partnership and there are good results. And there are things that the city staff doesn't have the experience, the knowledge, or the time to be involved in these areas. And I think partnership with them is a good use of the money. I am a taxpayer, and I don't mind to invest. The city invest in these areas using our resources, because we have a process with the grant. That is, we have a very streamlined process where we know the partners that we're working. We are not giving money away. They come with a proposal. They come with an idea. They have to produce the result, and then we reimburse them for the money. So it's not like we are giving money away and then go and do whatever you want. We have a very nice process installed in the city through the Healthy Neighborhood Committee, and the money is going to work with partners that they know how to. I don't think that we are going to fix all the problems that we have in the city, especially in the area where we have more social and economic disparity, but at least as a city, we are recognizing that there are a need, we are recognizing that we have some issue, and we are trying to do something to work on those areas. This is how I see it. I understand the position that, yes, it's not there. I heard that argument that, it's not the city role to give money to not-for-profit or charity. We are not doing any charity here. We are working with not-for-profit and partner to invest in areas of the city where there is a really need. That's it. This is how I see it.
Randy?
I've always supported the H&I, and I'm just concerned that once this money is gone after 2025, where are we at that point? Is it the expectation then increased that much, and then that's the direction we'll end up going? I have a real concern with it. And I think in the past, there's been some of the H&I dollars that have not been spent. And I'm assuming because those individuals that were awarded the grant didn't follow through. And just as you mentioned, that's part of the metrics. So I just have some concerns about the additional dollars on top of what we're already allocating.
I've got Jim, then Jay, then Joe. And then Julia. All the J's. Go ahead, Jim. No, why don't you go ahead? You'll have more to say after.
Yeah, just along the lines of Randy, this is one-time funding. So for 3 years, we're going to have a bump of $50,000 per year. So what happens after that? Are people going to have short memories and know that, that forgot that this is only one-time funding? And so we get the demand that, well, you funded it 3 years in a row, so why don't you keep funding it? So then it gets to the taxpayer. So how do you convey to people that this is just one-time funding is my concern.
Jay, go ahead.
Well, I think this is not unlike any other time when the city contracts for services, like we talked about Metro earlier tonight, where we don't have the infrastructure to provide bus service. So we're looking to someone else who does, and we're writing them a check to provide that service. What I would expect to happen here is, we may try some things to see if they work. And if they don't work, we don't have to continue them. And if they do work, it may be a good investment for us to continue doing in the future. But the problem is you don't know until you try it. And I think there's a lot of good things that private organizations like JFF and others are doing within neighborhoods in Fitchburg, and I think they need a little help. And there may be other organizations out there as well. I'm not going to claim to know all of the organizations that are working in the city to try to improve people's lives, but our city has a large number of people who are in a lower income bracket and need some help. And it's a simple way to try to help without putting a big burden on the taxpayers right now.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple things based on everything that's been said. First, the city's population is growing. We're also going to be taking on, an additional number of residents and an additional neighborhood that will be an H&I neighborhood. So I think it makes sense that proportionally, we invest more as our population grows more. I think also just reviewing the federal government's guidelines on ARPA, specifically listed in there that, this funding should be used equitably and it should, go towards folks that were most impacted by COVID. Even though COVID's over, I mean, it's not really over, but even though we're sort of out of the worst part of the pandemic, the byproducts of it still remain. So we're using, under this proposal, we would be using these funds for exactly what they were intended to be used for, which is mitigating the impacts of COVID-19. And the impacts of COVID-19 go far beyond the health, the physical health of people. They actually impact people's mental health, people's economic health. There's all sorts of byproducts of it that we still don't even know about today. And I think using these funds for 3 years to be able to set us up for, an eventual increase in our capacity is a good thing because it saves, that initial hit to, city tax dollars, because these are federal tax dollars that are going to the city to be used for this purpose. And then, in the same way we invest in transit, we invest in parks, and there's several amendments in here for the senior center. We invest in the library. All of these things are services that we provide as a city to make folks' lives better. So, if you're under the philosophy that we should only use tax dollars for core services, then we shouldn't be funding the senior center. We shouldn't be funding the library. I'm just hoping that we have some consistency when we're talking about how we're investing our money, in the same way that we talk about building all types of different city services, whether they be parks, fire stations, police stations. All these things are investments to make people's lives better initially. So I don't think this should be scrutinized unless we're scrutinizing those other things as well. And just a point of reference, I support all of those other things, but I think this shouldn't get hit under a microscope just because it's, impacting folks who live in poverty.
Julia?
I am the last. Oh, no. I want to do a follow-up question about Randy. Some of the unused funds some of them came from 2020 because some of the not-for-profit organizations couldn't provide the services that they supposed to do. So there are some residual sometimes, but some of them also came from 2020, was the pandemic. Some of the not-for-profit couldn't do the job, the task. So, and I agree with everything that Joe said about, you read ARPA, the final ruling of the ruling, most of the funding is to how to help municipality to create those healthy community, they call. Healthy community in areas where we have a disproportion, a social and economic disproportion that is beyond the rest of the city. We have, in the city of Fitchburg, we have 40% of our population live in poverty. There is a report that it was done by United Way of Thane County a couple of years ago, and I was surprised when I saw that, because I said, no, it couldn't be possible in my city. Because I live in District 2, so so everything looked great in my area, but then when you go out to other areas of the city, you will find the 40%. You will find, and this is great. And we should be proud of the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative, because when we established that program a couple of years ago was to say, yes, we acknowledge that we have a poverty issue in the city, and how, as a city, and how we are going to try to work on those areas. Because if we improve those areas, this whole city improve. Who is going to move to a city where your poverty percentage increase year after year? So I think we should be proud of this program that we have, this grant program, and I think these funds fit 100% of the mission of this and the vision and the value of this ARPA fund. We need to use it for this, and I think investing $50,000 additional every year in the grant program, you know, I don't know if we're going to make a big difference, but I think we are going to make some difference.
Gabriella?
Yeah, Joe spoke to a lot of what I was going to say, but, you know, the ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan funds, they were passed to help us recover from the pandemic. And yes, it gives us a unique opportunity to put us in a better financial position in the future, which we're using the money for that type of things, right? We're going to spend it on stormwater projects, et cetera. But this money is very much specifically tied to supporting our residents that were negatively impacted by COVID-19. And that might mean some additional investment over the next few years, because the next few years are going to be the initial recovery from the pandemic. And I think people that were able to work from home and that didn't lose their jobs, like maybe they just don't remember, or they just don't know intimately what it was like to suffer through the pandemic. And those are going to last a long time, but the next 3 years, that's the first phase of the recovery, and I think it justifies, even if we didn't continue that funding through taxpayer money, I think it justifies additional funding over the next few years to help us recover from the pandemic.
Jim?
Yeah, I just got a question, if somebody could just answer this for me. But funding does come to Fitchburg through other grants through the state and through the county. So it's not like, I mean, the way it's making it sound like nobody's getting any help in Fitchburg. So we have to kind of like put money into it, but help, it does come to Fitchburg through county and the state. Am I correct or no?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
That's all I wanted to know.
Jay?
Yeah, Chad, I don't remember if you were around at the time the COPS program, that we were taking advantage of the COPS program. So what that program did is the federal government basically funded the hiring of police officers. And they funded it for 3 years. They funded the salaries, equipment, everything for those officers. They didn't cover vehicles. But the only thing we had to do was, once the 3 years was done, we had to commit to keep those officers on staff. And I believe it was like a $200,000 bump in property taxes as soon as the COPS funding was gone. But we felt it was important enough to do that, even knowing that 3 years from then there was going to be a bump in property taxes. So I understand your point, Randy, about not wanting to commit to $50,000 out of a $16 million budget. But it seems to me that even if that's the commitment we're making, which it's not in this case, even if we were committing that, it's a pretty small price given all the other things we spend money on.
All right, Gabriella?
Yeah, and I also just want to remind everyone that we're not allocating money here. Like, we're spending more money in this plan than we have more money laid out in this plan than we're able to spend. So, like, we can have that discussion about the allocation of the money, but I strongly think that I hope all of you agree that this should at least be on the table. Like, we can have those discussions about budget allocation later, but I think this is more than justified to be on the table, and I hope that we all can support it moving forward and we can have those more detailed conversations later about allocation.
Seeing no one else, all in favor say aye.
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 And opposed, nay.
Nay.
And ayes have that. Before we go to the next one, I would like to have a motion to
So
extend the
moved.
meeting by how long?
Half an hour.
All right.
Second.
Sent by Gabriella.
Half an hour.
All in favor of extending, well, hoping, I guess not in favor of extending it, but at least doing the okay with extending the meeting for 30 minutes, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. I like it. All right, number 21, Julia.
Where is number 21? Okay, here. I move approval of amendment number 21, added funding for Little John's Restaurant in the amount of $50,000 for any capital expenditure for the new location in Verona Road.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Go ahead, speak this.
So I think you heard Dave Hazy today, the owner and one of the founders of Little John's, about what is important that the city invest in this not-for-profit. It's a not-for-profit. There is a confusion out there that people think that it's a for-profit company. It's a not-for-profit company, organization that is doing a lot of good job in the community and talking about the issue of food insecurity. And if you have read ARPA ruling, it talks a lot about food insecurity in our communities. And I think this allocating $50,000 to this project that is targeting food insecurity, especially in our community, and also, as you know, he also provides food and meals to the senior center too. So he's a partner in the community. They are investing in the community, and they are building that great facility in our community. I think this is our I would say this is our investment on that organization because we want them to thrive because they are doing a great job about food insecurity in our city. I don't know if 70% of the people that go to the Stony Prairie, no, what is the Stoner, the food?
Badger Prairie.
The Badger Prairie food pantry are Fitchburg residents, especially from District 1. So I think this is a great opportunity for us as a city to be behind this great organization.
All right. Questions, comments? Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I would encourage any of the council as well as city staff to, if you haven't visited Little John's, to do that because the work they've done, especially in the pandemic, is phenomenal. And it's been incredibly necessary during COVID. They just got to it. You know, a lot of school districts were handing out meals, but early childhood centers were not, and or had to close. And they were providing meals to, you know, families of kids at Reach Dane, community centers, you know, everywhere. And this is really going to be a huge investment in our community. It's going to benefit the neighborhood, but it's really going to benefit the entire county just because of the capacity they will have to make meals, to be able to provide healthier alternatives to school districts and community centers, and to be able to actually provide people workforce training and jobs. And it'll be another building in you know, along the Verona Road corridor that's not empty. So strongly encourage everybody to support this.
You got Jim and then Jay.
Yeah, I'm going to have an open mind about this, but I need to hear some more discussion. I just have an issue with giving money out without a formal grant program. And you did a good job of explaining H&I, and I think we come up against some equity issues. Because basically, you know, in Alder, you know, now you're going to get some funding, and there's other people out there that does great work also that may need some funding. And so where's the equity in this, that everybody has a fair chance? So I'm willing to listen, you know, on why we should forego a formal grant application, because you even look at the state giving out money, people are applying for grants. It's just not, well, we're going to give you money because you know somebody. So I'm willing to listen. So whoever wants to kind of answer that,
Well, first I got Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, so the description here says this build-out is going to cost $6 million. And we're talking about throwing $50,000 into the pot. Where is all the other $50,000 to $6 million is a pretty big jump. So where's all the other money coming from? The money that gets to the $6 million that it's going to cost to build this out, that we're supposedly contributing to.
Have you read my justification? I explained there from how is the capital campaign going. They try to raise $6 million. They are already have $3 million. They already have raised, and they need money for the $50,000 that I envision that the city contribute is through a capital expenditure like an equipment that they need for the kitchen or something like that. That is, you know what I mean? So it's more like a tangible contribution to some equipment that those kitchen equipment or whatever it is costs costs a lot of money. I can send you the list of all the equipment that they need. But
Well,
they are doing a campaign. They are doing a campaign. I don't know you have been following Little John's. They are doing a capital campaign, and they are half the way. So.
All right, well, that wasn't listed in your justification here.
Well, I mentioned there. Okay.
All right. Anyone else?
I don't know.
Dave,
Maybe.
Go ahead. Don't stop talking. Please raise your hand. We got to keep some quick decorum. We got Dave and then Gabriella.
I have a similar view. I love Little John's. I think it's a huge community asset. I'm excited to have it close to my house. And I will be writing them a check, But I don't feel it's our place to pick winners and losers with nonprofit or charities. I have some that I feel very strongly about. The city's not going to give them a chance at any of this money. I don't feel that's our function. If something like United Way, we give them the money. They pick the winners and losers. But I don't feel it's the city's function. I love Little John's, and I'm going to do everything I can to help it succeed. But I'm not going to vote to dedicate taxpayer money to them.
Gabriella?
Yeah, I think the difference with this is just because the American Rescue Plan, because that money is dedicated to things that affected the pandemic, including food insecurity. That's why this particular nonprofit was identified because the American Rescue Plan Act was supposed to be used to address food insecurity. And this is a local organization that's doing a lot already and can do more in the community as soon as they have their facility up and running. That's, I think, the rationale behind it. That being said, I'll just repeat again that this is not budget allocation. Like, if we do end up allocating this money to that, I would hope that we'd go through the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative, that there'd be a robust process of having Little John submit information and having the type of information come through like a grant process. But the reason why this project is because of the food insecurity specifications of the ARPA funding.
Julia, and then Randy.
Yes, so Gabriela said what I was planning to tell you. Why we picked this one? Because it's about food insecurity, and this organization is doing a great job addressing food insecurity in our community. So this is why we choose that one. I choose that one.
Randy?
Would this not be a program that one would go to the H&I and apply and then held to the standards of other nonprofits as well?
Yes.
I got other people that want to speak.
It's not really a question, it's rhetorical. You can answer it after I'm done speaking, yes, thank you. So, that's my position. I don't know why one wouldn't go to the H&I and I'll say compete with all of the other nonprofits as well. Thank you.
I've got Jim and then Joe after that. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, and I just want to make it clear. It's not that I'm against these programs. What I'm asking and what people are really, I'm not getting a good answer. They're saying, well, is for ARPA says you could do this. I'm not saying, okay, you can't do it with ARPA. I'm just saying, where's the fairness and equity for every other nonprofit that's out there? That's all I'm saying, and I'm not getting an answer of why Little John's should be separated out from every other nonprofit and we just give them money. That's all I want to hear. I understand what ARPA's for, but that's the question that I have that I'm not hearing the answer to.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna add some more. I think to Alder Udell's question, what I'm reading in this proposal is a very specific use of the funds, and clearly a one-time use of this fund because it's actually going to provide a physical piece of equipment, and that physical piece of equipment will, allow this space to be able to provide a very specific service to the community, and the amount is bigger than currently what we allocate for an individual grant recipient. Our limit's what, Julio, 15,000? And this specific ask is for more than that. So, I think it falls appropriately within what the guidance, of the federal government says about what this should be used for. specific piece of equipment is going to support a specific place that provides food, which is specific to, what's been needed throughout the pandemic. So I think it fits squarely within what it is that we, are charged to do with this money.
All right, Jay?
Yeah, I was listening to Jim talk. It reminded me of an argument that was made 5 or 6 years ago about why the funding for the Boys and Girls Club, who had been providing service in Fitchburg, should be cut. So I think Jim's point here is a valid point, given the fact that the council found it to be a valid point not too long ago.
Yeah, I remember talking about earmarks at that point in time, and if it was fair to have an earmark for certain organizations at the time. Julia, go ahead.
I think we are talking about two different topics here. Okay, this is ARPA fund that, if you read it, you have read the final resolution talk about, allocating this fund to food insecurity project or initiative. So what I choose this organization because of food insecurity. This is what they are doing. I understand the equities area, that one we address in the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative. But here specifically we choose this because this is an organization that is working on food insecurity in our city. I haven't seen any other one doing that in our city. Second, why they don't go through the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative grant is because usually the limit is capped at between $10,000 and $15,000. And here I allocate $50,000 for a capital expenditure to buy an equipment. Equipment in this specifically is this commercial kitchen or for restaurant costs a lot of money. So that one was kind of how the city can help this not-for-profit that is doing already a good job in our community, helping our residents that are in need, our poor residents, okay? That they are, most of the time, they are low income and also people of color, going through this very hard time that COVID affected even more their life. So I don't know why, guys, it's so difficult to understand. This is a $50,000, investment in a food insecurity organization. That's it.
All right, so Gabriella, go ahead.
I guess, the difference that I'm hearing, I understand the question. The H&I, I'll just repeat what I'm hearing about the difference is the H&I grant caps at $10,000, $15,000. H&L grantees are typically their ongoing operating costs, their program costs in the community, where it is like a forever cost, or not a forever. They do these programs on and on and on, and ideally they apply every year as long as they're continuing doing work in the city of Fitchburg. Whereas this would be just a one-time contribution to a project that fits within the guidelines. It's not like they would never get $50,000 from H&I, but also that's the difference, I guess, is what I'm trying to highlight, is what I'm hearing the difference is. One-time cost higher than what H&I would. It wouldn't go through H&I for this type of contribution.
All right, I think that's everyone. Tracy, this one's been there seems to be people on both sides of this. I'm going to ask just for a roll call on this one because it doesn't seem like there's a consensus on this one, please. Thank you.
Alder Allen?
The wheels are turning. 1 second.
They really are. I guess I will vote no.
Alder Radafrada?
Yes.
Alder Gerhart?
Aye.
Alder Herbst?
Nay.
Alder Maldonado?
Aye.
Alder Strassman?
No.
Alder Udell?
No.
Alder Wheeler?
I'm just going to say no because I did not get a clear answer to my question of why we are doing something, why we would do something without having a fair and equitable process.
All right.
for all to be involved. So
All right.
it's a no.
So it's a fail, I believe.
Fail 5-3.
All right. Moving on to number 22, Julia.
Okay. 22. Okay. So I move approval of amendment number 22 to add funding to the Fitchburg Greenway system.
Seconded by Jay. And what's this one?
So this one is, as you read it, the justification and my description is to allocate some funds to the Greenway system to design a map, a name, and provide signage for our local cycling network. It's another way to, especially in the, in all our path, bike path that we have in the city, is to have a signage to determine where are the different locations, especially for people that they don't drive and they use the bike or walk. And this project is specifically for the initial phase of the 4.2 mile in Fish Hatchery Greenway. And I think Steve Arnold already explained that Bike Fitchburg is already applying for some grants that is going to help to mitigate the cost of this project.
Jay.
This, I think, is important. We have a bike and ped plan that we approved many years ago. It's undergone some revisions, but this has been a part of the bike and ped plan for as long as I can remember, probably since it was initially developed. And I think sometimes it's still hard to believe that it's been this long and this still hasn't been done. But I think this is a minimal expenditure for something that could really help the city, and could certainly, if we are able to qualify to be a gold bicycle friendly community, this could help with some of the marketing that we do and could probably bring more financial benefits to the city over time.
Dave?
I'm going to be a little humorous here. Approximately 219 years ago, a troop of soldiers somehow managed to find their way all the way across from Ohio out to the Pacific Ocean, Lewis and Clark, without maps, without compasses, without anything. And our residents can't follow our bike paths, and they all have one of these. Now, I'm being a little facetious here, but like we have, our system is marked well. You follow the paths, everyone, that's all I'm going to say. I just find it a little ironic that people can't find their way around. The majority of these people on these high-cost bicycles certainly know where they're going and certainly have navigation things on their bikes. I'm not going to oppose this, but I find it a little ridiculous that we have to have everything marked so well when everyone's got a cell phone.
Good.
Okay, I want to follow with you, Dave. Not everyone has a cell phone, okay? And second, if we follow your argument, we shouldn't have any type of sign in any community.
I didn't say that.
No, Dave.
I am talking, okay? So, and the other thing that we need to, I think this is another step that we need to have in order to accomplish, to become a gold bicycle-friendly community. We need to have this plan in place. So I want to add that.
Jim?
Okay, Dave, I'm going to put myself out there. I need those things. I get lost on which way am I going, so for me, please.
Carol?
I'll second that. I was going to say that I'm that person too. So it's not just you, Jim.
All right.
I would just add, on a personal note, when I was young, my father took me in the woods, and he said, we had gone the same place many times, and he said, stay here 5 minutes and then find your way home. And it was a test. He was watching me, but I think it's an important skill to be able to navigate a little bit. That's all.
All right.
I'm done. I was just having a little fun with this.
All right. Let's go ahead and vote on this one. I think we've exhausted the discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that one's approved. Number 23, Joe.
Sure. Amendment number 23, add funding for Workforce Accelerator Business Incubator, LCC Plaza. So you heard Jessica Cavazzo speak. I'll say what's a little bit different than this about this amendment is it's using TID funding. So I spoke with Misty and, just taking some advice from her that it would be a more appropriate use of TID funds. So this is a pretty recent development, but it's been in the works for a while. The Latino Chamber of Commerce, which has been in Fitchburg for a while, has acquired a space a couple of doors up from Little John's, and they would use this space as essentially if folks knew about the Black Business Hub in South Madison that the Black Chamber is developing. This would serve a similar purpose. Essentially, it would be a place for local business owners to be able to vend, to be able to prepare, food for their food trucks. It would also be an office space for the chamber for them to be able to serve residents. This is, the neighborhood that it will be located in will be in proximity to a lot of the current members of the chamber. These are folks who are either current business owners, aspiring business owners, folks that need technical support on their business, and people who want to scale up. But it would also be a social gathering space where people can actually come and enjoy events and buy food. I would say there's just a tremendous amount of benefits to this. The specific use of the funds would be for renovation of a space, which, if it's the right renovations, could actually increase the property value of the building, which would be an investment in the city. So for all of those reasons, I would recommend that you support at least looking into this. And just a reminder from what Misty said is that this is, investigating that we look into things, and it's not a commitment necessarily to spending it. I will say the chamber just received a grant from the Evers administration for a few $1 million. So, there is current funding already allocated to this that's getting it way more than halfway. I'll also note that this organization is at once was a Dane County serving organization and now is actually serving the entire state. So this could actually also attract business, also attract interest to the area, which is reinforced through the Anton Drive study that there needs to be development specifically along this corridor, and this is accomplishing that. So obviously we're in the really early phases of this project, and it's not sort of as specific costs as the Little John's proposal, but I think I have no doubt that this would be funds well spent. It would be spent for a specific use of renovation and development of a space.
Julia, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry, Mayor.
Yes.
Did we get a second on this?
Oh,
the
no,
motion?
I second.
Oh, sorry.
I
Yeah,
second.
Julia.
Okay,
Please go
I
ahead.
second. So,
Thank you.
So I want to, as you know, I am total bias with this organization because I used to be the president and work in this organization for 8 years. So I am, very proud where the organization is right now. That is, it used to be the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Dane County, and now it's the Wisconsin Latino Chamber of Commerce. So and they decided to stay and invest in Fitchburg. Okay, so this is great. So I think this is an economic development organization. The chamber provide technical support, coaching. They have a entrepreneurship lab that they graduate. I don't know, like they had 3 or 4 cohorts during the year. They are helping our Latino businesses to to become more profitable, how to navigate the system, how to run a business. So I think we are investing in economic development in this organization, and I would like the support of all of you for this. So, but this is an organization that they decided to stay in Fitchburg. They want to set roots here, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to show them that we want them here, too.
All right, I got Dave and then Jim after that. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm really excited about this opportunity of having them in District 1, again, not far from where I live. I see great things coming from this. And Alder Maldonado, have them get a hold of me. I will write them a check, but I will not be supporting the city, dedicating this money to them. I'll do whatever I can to help them succeed, but they won't get my vote on this.
Jim, go ahead.
I'm going to, well, thanks, Scott. I'm going to go back to my original belief in this. I mean, we've got a 501c, and when the state gave them money, did they have to apply for a grant, or did the state just say, here's some money and go forth? Because I'm on the same thing, why isn't there an application process for the city to give out money? Because what the application process does, and what a process does, it provides transparency for the citizens. And again, I understand ARPA, I understand what it's for, but I just need to know, again, why are we giving money to 501Cs without a formal grant program or a formal process so that everyone basically has an opportunity to get funding?
Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, I have to echo the same statements from Alder Wheeler. I mean, this goes back to similar to Little John's. I'm having some issues as well. I don't know. Once again, where's the grant or where's the request for the transparency? But I have to ask another question, or one directed at Alder Maldonado. Isn't this the location you wanted the teen center in? I mean, this is the same building, is it not, where Roughing used to be, or Roughing it? Is this, well, anyway, I guess that's for another discussion, but it seems to be the same location. So I hope that doesn't jeopardize the teen center. That's, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Joe, do you want to confirm that? I believe that's correct, but.
Yeah, it is the same location. So where we're at now with that process, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but, essentially, part 2 of the teen center study will be design. And after, having conversations with, Wade, I think we can be open to multiple different locations, so it doesn't just have to be that location, but we can, look at other spots besides this. And right now, this building's empty and it's for sale, and the council did not approve to purchase it when I made a budget amendment last year. So, it's naturally going to go off the market, but I don't think that jeopardizes the future of the teen center.
Any further comments on this amendment? Tracy, I'm going to ask for a roll call again. Oh, sorry, Gabriella first. Hold on a second. Go ahead, Gabriella.
I mean, I can kind of see where this is going, but I just want to say, this is just a spending plan. We're not allocating funding here. We can certainly put restrictions on what people have to process they have to go through in order to allocate this money. But I just see no harm in adding it to a potential list of options. It is an unusual opportunity to have this type of one-time funding. It's not something we normally have, so we might do things a little bit differently than we've done before. But I just see no reason not to have it on the table for additional research. And maybe the ultimate answer is we don't allocate the funding to them. But I just don't see what the harm is in having it on the table.
I don't see anyone else. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone again. All right, Tracy, roll call, please.
Alder Allen?
No.
Alder Radafrada?
Yes.
Alder Gerhart?
Aye.
Alder Hertz?
Nay.
Alder Maldonado?
Aye.
Alder Strassman?
No.
Alder Udell?
No.
Alder Wheeler?
No.
Motion failed, 5-3.
Thank you. And last one, Dave.
Move approval amended 24 to add a senior center vehicle for transporting seniors from their homes to the center at approximate cost of $75,000.
Second.
Sent by Gabriella. Do you want to speak to this, Dave?
This came from the request being on the Committee for Aging Well. A large amount of their time is, they are discussing how to get more seniors, many of them, unable to drive anymore, many of them in my neighborhood, low income. How can we get them there? There is a service, but only bring them for lunch, and if they come, they're there. They have to be there the entire day, so we're looking for some flexibility to be able to utilize our center more. We have the facility. Getting them there, once they're there, it really doesn't cost us too much more. The question, for the future would be, how do we staff the driving? That would be a discussion for another time if council chooses to approve this. But this is the Friends of the Senior Center and Jill have asked me to include this, and so that's why you see it more flexibility in getting, and I think it's mostly low income and older seniors that no longer have the ability to drive.
Jay?
I like this proposal. I think this is something another thing that should have been done long ago. What I would like Valerie to look into, and you can pass this on, is I don't know how the staffing of this vehicle is going to occur.
Yes.
But what I want to know is if we have, first of all, since we're driving around other people, is a CDL required? If they are driving a city vehicle and they are not a city employee, how does the liability insurance work? I think those are questions that need to be answered before we get to a final resolution on this. So, but other than that, I fully support doing this.
Those are actually questions, yeah. Julia and then Joe after that.
Question to you, David, how much is going to be the operating expense for this? It's not part of the $75,000, so.
You're absolutely correct.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
I can have you respond. These are more that you have, because I got Joe on the.
Yeah.
I want to get to Joe too.
Oh.
You have other questions?
No, that one is for him.
Okay, I'll come back to Dave in a second. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so I'll preface by saying I fully support this amendment because I do believe we need to invest in seniors. I'm just wondering, Alder Herbst, what's your line on what an essential city service is? Because, this isn't, the things you said no to in terms of funding align very much with what this is doing, which is serving people. Because I see you have a very hard and fast line on what our city dollars should be spent on. And everything else seems like frills, but those things are pretty much in line with the same thing with this is doing, which is serving our elderly people.
Well, it's not, it's through the city. This is a city service. We built the senior center. Previous councils did this long before I was on. They decided this is something that they wanted to support. This happened before I was on, that the taxpayers to spend that money, and we have this center. I guess that's the distinction I draw on this. It's not I'm not funding a separate nonprofit. This is a city agency, I guess.
Did you also want to?
Oh, and back to Julia. I replied back to the senior center, Julia, and I said, while I support purchasing this, I do not support hiring city staff to drive it. So the onus, my feeling would be if you choose to approve this, we would not go forward purchasing that until a staffing and operational plan is created, whether it's, whether we're asking donations, whether we're asking seniors able to pay for it. I feel that would need to be developed, because I'm not in favor of it if we have to hire, 2 people to be driving them around.
And I think you hit on something that I talked about in my letter as well, that these are one-time funds, and so projects that create an ongoing obligation are a concern. And it seems like this might be one of those that there is that ongoing obligation and other costs. So you're kind of de facto committing operating budget dollars in the future, possibly. Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think this is a great idea. I am not against doing that. Because I know that, these operating expenses come frequently with other initiative. So the question is, I know that they have an strong group of friends of the senior center. Yep. So the idea maybe they should be like a 50-50 partnership with them and say the city is going to allocate some funding, but you need to find some matching funds too, you know what I mean? So, so that one will be like, yeah, we really believe that we need these services for our seniors, abuelos, but also, how you are going to also help us, with matching funds, you know what I mean? So that's it.
Yeah, I believe we're on the same page.
Anyone else? All right. Then we can go to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. So that one passes. All right, Misty, now I know we got to vote on kind of the overall package. Anything else before we do that?
Are you interested in the numbers, where you ended up?
Sure.
So between the two pieces, we had ARPA funding and TID closure. ARPA funding is a final dollar amount. The TID closure, I think, will be in the $2 million ballpark, but that is not final at this point. So between those two, we had about $5.2 million total available. The mayor's plan spent $5.476 million, and we just added another $1.6 million. So our total is $7.07 million, and we have 5.2. So we are about a third, 35% over budget. So
there's a lot of projects that we won't be able to fund, likely won't be able to fund, because there might be grant programs, things like that. Also, I'll reiterate this again, which I also put in my the letter. Not all these things are going to happen next year. Yep. So these are not all the projects that are going to happen in a year. The staff cannot do that unless we're going to add another 20 positions, maybe. I don't know, which I know we won't do either. All right. So anything else before we do the final vote? All right. Then we're now voting on kind of the overall ARPA TID plan as amended. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved to be put into the CIP. Can we hold tomorrow, Randy? What's the topics again?
We have naming of parks. That's an update, and then we have the Town of Madison work group updated.
All right, and the next council meeting's in a few weeks. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Jay, seconded by Randy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, have a good night, everyone.